Spread Cels episode 40. I am your host, Alex Schmitz, and with me here today is Andrew Gleason.
Hi there.
Peter Frank.
Hello.
Marc Goldsmith.
Well, howdy.
And Clara Heimberger.
I'm playing Pokemon.
Yes, as you heard there, this is actually our 40th episode. This is kind of a big deal.
What?
Wow.
It is.
I didn't know that.
Well, I just said it.
Well, yeah, I was playing Pokemon.
So
You
that's,
did just
that's
say
more
that.
important.
Oh, so much more important. Yeah, what's kind of cool about it is, like, you know, in like not 10 weeks, because we're going to have, you know, winter break here coming up in the not too distant future, but like sometime second semester, we're going to hit 50 episodes.
Oh, we should do like an anniversary thing or
I'm so
something
old.
special.
Yeah.
Oh, my
should.
battery.
I don't know what we're going to do, but we're going to do something special for 50 when we get there. We've already done Mononoke.
We
I
should watch
just-
Bo
I
Bo
do
Bo
not
Bo
like that
Bo
one.
Bo.
Oh my god, that
You're
would
like
be
the
really
only
funny.
person,
I
though.
do not like Mononoke.
Oh,
But-
what?
but-
okay, hold on.
But do you like Bo 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 Bo? No.
What?
Hold on. Why don't you like Princess Mononoke?
I feel like
this.
the characters in at least the main characters in Princess Mononoke are the least developed, and they're just like slates with nothing interesting about them that just decide they have no motivation whatsoever. The characters in the villages are interesting, and I love the world, but I have no reason to be invested in anyone whatsoever, whereas Princess Nausicaa in the Valley of the Wind has the same moral like concept. Just it's almost the same movie, except it was made first, and the characters are more interesting.
But what I find so interesting about Princess Mononoke is that like I always say I wish Avatar had done Princess Mononoke, because Princess Mononoke takes the humanity versus the forest idea, but then makes it very gray, where like the forest isn't necessarily right, the humans aren't necessarily right. You know, there's good and bad to both. You know, and Ashitaka's sort of in the middle. That's what I see about him. You know, he's playing the mediator between
And
both sides.
he's dying. He's trying to save himself.
Yeah, that's a pretty good motivation to act. You know, you're gonna die from this curse thing.
It doesn't help that I find the voice actor of the English dub to be kind of terrible. He's
That's
very
how I am with
monotone and
Chihiro in
uninteresting.
Spirited Away. I cannot listen to her voice. It is so screechy, and it kills me. Like, in my head, I can hear her screaming, I'm dreaming, in her high-pitched, screechy voice.
And I tried watching the Japanese version with a sub, except the sub on the disc that I have is just garbage. Like, it's just not good quality.
Speaking of Avatar, what about that Korra, right?
Oh yeah, that thing. The second
Trying to
Miyazaki
segue
stuff.
us here, Mark. Get us on topic.
Well, we go on
apologize.
tangents and it's just.
I know. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I know. Well, real quick, why don't we talk about the animation we've watched since last time before we get on to our main topic this week, which is The Legend of Korra, specifically episodes 3 through 6, the ones that we haven't covered on the podcast yet.
What? I didn't know that.
I know, right?
Wow.
As for myself, as far as animation, I've been just watching some of the new fall 2013 anime. Beyond the Boundary had a pretty good third episode recently. Just watched the third episode of Kill la Kill, which actually had some really awesome action and some crazy fan service too. But I'm still enjoying the show, even though it's freaking
Is the
insane.
fan service as bad as High School of the Dead?
I've not watched High School of the
Well,
Dead.
worse.
that should be our 50th episode. Should be High School of the Dead.
Not
Clara.
swimming anime?
Yes.
Free would
Swimming
actually be
anime
hilarious.
and High School of the Dead, because they're both fan services for each
Just a
gender.
Clara-centric episode.
Clara.
Please do. I would love that, and we'll talk about ships the whole time.
Clara,
Yeah,
I watched one episode of High School of the Dead.
yeah.
Kill la Kill's worse.
Is it really?
You haven't
worse?
seen the overture.
Because I've heard Kill Kill.
I've seen some clips
I've-
from High School of the Dead. It's pretty bad.
You know,
Yeah.
it's bad, but like just from watching both their first episodes, Kill la Kill's worse.
Kill la Kill's pretty bad, but only because of how skimpy that one outfit is. They don't do a lot of like.
Well, her friend is kind of the same way. Like when they tie her upside down in the first episode.
Yeah, I
little.
guess. I mean, I don't know. It's just there's not a lot of like purposeful like panty shots or like clothes
It is
ripping off. and,
mostly
like,
just the one character.
Yeah,
that
Yeah.
does
it's
that.
just the costume, which is always
Not
like the
every
last 10
female
minutes.
character.
No,
of the
not
episode.
every
But
female
But
character.
as of right now, there's only really 2 female characters.
Well,
so
there's
Aside
Oh,
from
other
the
than-
president and all
other
those
than
other
the
characters.
Yeah,
So-
and the girl who's in the student council club, whatever her name is.
oh yeah, her.
The
Oh,
one
yeah,
that who like
band
is
one.
eating all the candies and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
the band geek or
Mhm.
whatever.
And then I watched, there's an anime by the creator of Bakano called Samurai Flamenco. The second episode I will probably actually go watch as soon as this podcast is over, because the first episode was actually really good. It's about like this guy who like wants to be a superhero, and he's like really rich and just wants to be a superhero, like Kamen Rider, like that Japanese sort of outfit. But this is like in the real world, so he has no superpowers. So he just goes out there and was like telling a bunch of kids like not to litter, and he gets the crap beaten out of him. It's actually pretty. It was a pretty good first episode, I think. So I'm interested in that. There's a show with like the three ancestors of Galileo, which is kind of interesting. Had an interesting first episode. Naki no Asakura, which is by A1 Pictures, very pretty little show. Clara, I think you'd enjoy that one. It's a show by A1 Pictures, the guys who did Sword Art and Anohana. It's very pretty, and it seems to be all about like this high school comedy romance thing. So there's lots of ships going on right now.
Kitty face.
Clara's specialty, the ships. Andrew, what have you been watching recently?
I watched Kill the Kills, we just kind of talked about. And then me and Pete here, on the day Pokemon came out, we just marathoned what was it, like at least like 10 episodes?
Somewhere in that area.
The first season of Pokemon.
It hurt a little
nice.
bit.
It hurts a little bit.
Is it nostalgia doesn't hold
It
up?
does,
It doesn't.
It's a bad show.
We
They're
have
all
some
so
great
Oh my
jokes,
gosh,
though.
that's hilarious.
They're
Is
so
it really?
stupid.
It's so
and
bad.
Misty is just
It's
so
immensely bad.
horrible. Misty
You
is
should
just
watch it with us.
Misty is a horrible person.
I
as it turns
would
out.
watch that.
Yeah.
Let me know.
50th episode.
Do the entire Pokemon
What
first season.
actually, like, just an idea. We could do like a nostalgia episode. Watch a whole bunch of like.
We already did one of
We
those.
did.
Did we?
Digimon.
For all the 90s animation, remember? That was
That's
more
true.
American
Oh.
than anime, but
Okay, well, no, but what I was thinking is maybe like we could watch like 2 episodes of like other maybe like shows we didn't do for that episode or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. We can
Yeah.
talk about it later.
yeah, that's still a long ways in the future.
Yeah.
But.
Anyway, and our favorite episode by far though is the one where like if I don't remember I don't know if you guys remember it, but like there's the
I
one episode where
remember.
like the really rich guy's like lives in the lighthouse and he
It's
wants
Bill.
Bill.
him, and he just like wants the giant Dragonite to show up
Yeah.
And be
and
friends
talk
with
to it, and he's just saying all these like really deep and philosophical stuff, and then Ash is just like blankly
Repeating it word for word.
repeating it word for word like he's confused. And then we spawned the joke.
Anytime Bill says anything intelligent and, philosophical, Ash just picks up his Pikachu. I have a Pikachu.
But Ash, does the Pikachu? Do you really own a Pikachu? Can you own a living being?
Yes, I own Pikachu.
And it's
That's his
it goes-
response to everything.
It just goes on like that. It's
The
just,
thing
"I
though
have
that the one thing that's always bothered me about the anime is that just Ash doesn't catch anything.
Yeah.
Actually,
At least
No.
Red catches everything
No.
it's
and uses it.
It's funny. Jeremy and I were just talking about this right before I left for, I don't know, probably an X and Y conversation of some sort. And he said, like, in total, like, not counting the 50 Tauros he caught in that one episode, I just caught, like, 60 Pokemon over the course of, like,
68.
15 years.
68
Which
Pokemon.
is pretty bad, probably.
that's a pretty
And
low.
and I
count.
understand the concept of not catching many Pokemon because I will catch some random Pokemon, but in general I only like catching Pokemon that I know I like. So, but he never uses them. He doesn't evolve them. Like, yeah, he had a Butterfree and stuff, but like his starters, aside from Charizard, his Squirtle never evolved.
I think it
His
depends what
Bulbasaur
Pokemon.
never evolved. His Muck was undefeated,
And,
and
he threw it away.
and he stored it in the box forever. Like, what is he thinking with some of his choices? I don't
Actually-
know.
Well, the funny
and then
thing, watching
Pikachu
the
like
first
hard
couple-
resets every time he goes to a new region. He just
Yeah.
becomes like level 1 again.
Which also makes no sense. Pikachu would be like level 300 by now.
At
There are
least.
some plot explanations, but it's Pokemon. I think
Yeah.
there are some points in later seasons. I have heard that his original starters do evolve to some extent. I haven't spent much time paying attention to Pokemon
I've
in the
not
longest time,
seen
though.
them.
But Red is
least
so
not the show.
cool.
Right.
But what's interesting about it is he is so stupid. Like early on, like he wants to catch the Pidgeotto, right? And you know what? He has 2 Pokemon at the point. It's Pikachu and Caterpie. Which one does he send?
Caterpie.
He sends Caterpie after it.
It's almost like every episode they specifically have him send out the Pokemon that would be least viable. There's a
What?
point when they're fighting Giant Tentacool, and he sends out a flying, a grass type, and a water type when he's got a Pikachu. Like,
Right.
half of them, one of them
Well-
doesn't standard, the other 2 do half.
Because wasn't his backstory like he was like watching Pokemon on the TV, like he was always wanted to be a Pokemon master? You'd think he would have researched like at least how typing worked. Like that's pretty basic.
You would
Oh,
think.
the one
Except
part
for
where he's
Fairy.
like, Ash, how long have you been up? All night. What? You were online? Yes. Like, have you like it was like right before he fights in one of the tournaments or whatever, and he just apparently searched online all night learning about like different typings and like the other trainers and their Pokemon, and he just is stone face.
That's amazing. Peter, what have you been watching recently?
Outside of everything that he mentioned, we did recently finish watching Attack on Titan, and it was just like game changing.
What do you think of
we
Annie?
loved it. What was that?
What do you think of Annie?
I have no idea what to think. I saw it coming, but I mean,
Yeah, let's keep it spoiler free. We already did an Attack on Titan
It's my
podcast.
favorite.
It is her favorite. It's true.
I loved it. It was great.
Yeah, it is really good. Mark has to watch it because he's the only one at this table who hasn't.
Yeah, that is true.
Highly recommend it.
Okay.
What have you been watching then, Mark?
I think I've only been apprehensive about it because, and this is really weird because I hate when people say this, but I think I'm only apprehensive about it is because of how popular it got in such a short time. Like, just all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Attack on Titan was just everywhere
Everywhere,
online.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it was just kind of scary.
difference though, because obviously a lot of people compare it to Sword Art Online, but whereas Sword Art Online has some really legitimate like bad problems with it, Attack on Titan has its flaws, but at the end of the day, it's still a really good show. So
That's
don't
good.
let the popularity fool you. It's still really good.
I'm a huge hipster with my anime, and I recommend Attack on Titan.
Okay, that's good. So what I've been watching is I've been keeping up with One Piece, and they're actually getting to the climax of Punk Hazard, which is
Yeah.
their current arc. So I'm really happy about that. It's going to look really nice animated, I think, as long as Toei doesn't mess it up. And I know this isn't technically anime, but Ruby, I've been watching Ruby a lot, and I adore Ruby. I think tonight's episode is probably going to be the one where John actually like
does something
and sticks up for himself. So I'm happy
I
about
very
that.
much hope
but
so.
we will see. So I'll find out later tonight.
Yeah, well, we'll probably watch it when we get back.
Yeah, and the only other thing I've really been watching is Kill la Kill,
That's right. Yeah, you watched
which
a couple
I've been
episodes.
loving so far. Again, the only thing I don't like is the protagonist's outfit whenever she goes into combat. It's really needlessly skimpy and fan servicey, but other than that, it's hilarious, and they know their audience. Like the humor in the show is very spot on, so I like it.
Clara.
I've been watching Ruby. I've watched Korra. Beyond the Boundaries, I've watched a little bit of. I still need to watch the newest 2 episodes because I'm really bad with this kind of thing.
Yes, you do.
I'm so bad at this when it's not on demand. But Bravest Warriors just came out today. Their newest season.
Did you see the episode?
No, not yet.
Neither have I. Okay, wow. Because thank you for reminding
when I
me.
went back to my dorm today, that was the only time I've been back there since like when I went to do my Japanese homework, and then I came right back to front room.
Yeah.
So I have my laptop with me right now. This is like the first time I've been back to my room to even like use my laptop.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on campus since almost 8 this morning.
But Kenny and I were geeking out about it yesterday, and I'm so excited. I
Nice.
saw the preview, and I just feelings. And I've
All the feels.
But okay, ever since Saturday, I've been nonstop playing Pokemon. I've beaten the game. I've put over 48 hours into it.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm working on my all Kalos team, which is just all Pokemon from the new region. No one can stop me.
Is that the name of it? Kalos?
Kalos, yeah. It's based off of
Interesting.
France and
France.
France. France de Gaulle Hashimaska. No, I don't speak French. But yeah,
All right.
that's what I've been.
Well, now we can move on to the main discussion for this
Yes.
week, which is
Bo bo
Korra.
bo bo bo.
And
bo.
we've all been.
Shush. You keep bringing that up. If it was on Hulu, we would do it, but it's not. I've checked. It's not on Hulu. It's not on
I'll
any
send
legal
them an
streaming
angry email.
site.
We've all been pretty excited to talk about Korra though.
It's on
because
Netflix.
There's so much to talk
Maybe.
about.
No, Johnny Bravo's on Netflix. I got confused.
Yeah.
That's
I'll
another good
check,
one.
but-
Close enough.
Yeah, so we did real quick since well, I guess let's see. Andrew, you were on the Korra podcast we did before,
was.
but Peter, you were not in.
No, I was not.
Neither were you three. So real quick, Peter, Mark, and Clara, give your quick thoughts on the first 2 episodes because we won't really be talking about those since we did a podcast on them already. But give us your thoughts.
I'm thoroughly enjoying this season. I'm enjoying their pacing quite a lot. I always think they're going to take a couple episodes to get over this plot point, and it's going to be kind of annoying that the characters can't figure it out, and then they just figure it out. That happened recently, and also they just jumped right into the whole Unalaq is actually evil thing much faster. Like they just said, okay, no, he's the bad guy, pretty much right away. And I thought Korra was going to spend at least 3 or more episodes derping around trying to figure out, is he a good guy or not?
So you like that they.
I'm
quickened
enjoying
that
their
up.
pacing quite a lot. Yeah, I'm thoroughly enjoying this season.
All right, Mark.
I'm also enjoying the pacing. I really like I really like the show in general. The only thing is that while last season a lot of people didn't like Korra, I still liked her because I really loved the fact that she was almost a complete foil to Aang, who was very reserved, and she's very boisterous and loud and headstrong, and I like that. But now she's taking it way too far in this season, so I'm really disliking Korra as a character. The show in general, very good. I'm liking a lot of character development and stuff, but I love the character development that they're having for each character, but I wish they had more character development between characters, like stuff between Asami, Korra, Bolin, Mako. There's been a lot of fights, but there hasn't been a lot of like them just hanging out as friends because there's a lot of tension between them. So I'm assuming that'll be solved later, but I love the friendship that Avatar kind of has, and there's not a lot of it in season 2 right now.
I think part of that is because this season in particular is really going in a lot of different directions with the plot lines. Like characters are all over the place physically and, like what they're doing. So they really haven't been together all that often, really.
I just wish they were, I guess, is my point.
I get that. Clara.
Agree with both before me. I like the pacing, and I like the fact that they're not dodging around things. It was pretty obvious that Unalaq was going to be a part of something, and when we found out he was evil, I was like, there we go. He's evil. We knew this. Good job. We didn't dance around this. Now we know. And then, like, when they do actually have something thrown at us, like what we'll talk about later that I'm not going to say now, it just surprises you, and you don't see it coming because they do well with hiding and revealing. But like what Marc said, I miss the bonding. I miss people actually being friends. I miss just happiness in Avatar. It's like Aang was always very optimistic. Even Sokka was the sarcastic one. And it wasn't even like spiteful sarcastic like what Bolin's doing right now, which is hilarious, but still it's spiteful. And Sokka's like the ridiculous one, and Katara was like the curious, I'm still learning about stuff, so I'm in the same boat as you, Aang. So there was that just camaraderie that there isn't anymore. And like Asami, I love her to death, and I just want to see her be okay, but oh my god. She's probably my favorite character right now because everyone else is just kind of oh my god.
They're all being jerks in their own ways.
Well, and she has the most to lose right now.
I really wish that Tenzin would like be a part of the whole Avatar team again.
Well, we'll talk about that. Real quick, in case you couldn't figure it out already, there will be spoilers for 3 through 6 and 1 and 2, basically all of Korra. So if you don't want spoilers, don't listen.
Korra's being the worst.
And we'll talk about that because I have some defenses for Korra.
Or go watch them and then come back and listen.
There you go. That's what we really want you to do because it's a good show.
We live in the internet age. Come on, guys.
Exactly. So I think we should start with episode 3, since it's the first episode we're going to talk about today, which is Civil Wars Part 1. And I really liked how they went into Tenzin, Bumi, and Kaya in this episode because this is where we got the whole thing where like Aang favorited Tenzin over all the other kids because he was an airbender.
I have a little bit of beef with this though because like with Korra, it came out of nowhere. Like if maybe like I understand like they've probably had this building up off to the side, but because we haven't seen it, it was like, hey, here's some drama, brah. So like when the drama actually like hit, it was just like, where did this come from, guys? And then like Korra just always just starting off being angry like someone has already wronged her, and then someone actually does or she feels like it, and then it's like, oh, now my anger's justified, but I started off being angry, so now I'm just angrier. So I don't know, it was good, and like it had the whole bonding between like father-daughter, and we got to see Bumi like talking to Aang afterwards, and it was really kind of sad, but at the same time it just it came out of nowhere for me. I'm like, geez, guys, you're trying to find Iki. Can we be adults for a little bit?
I will say the severity of like how like angry they were at each other kind of came a little bit out of nowhere. But throughout the episode, they were mentioning it, building it up, know, and then at the very end of the episode, they had their big fight, where Kai and Bumi
the fact
end
it was
up
like, hey,
away.
it's gang up on Tenzin time. And he's like, but guys, I have to find my daughter. And they're like, no, we're going to keep hounding you about this.
A little bit, but I don't. It's sort of like what you said. Like this has been building in the story for a long time, but we've only been with Tenzin Kayabumi for 2 episodes, so they really didn't have a whole lot of time to build that.
I think I can understand
conflict.
why they suddenly blew up at him, though, because the whole time throughout that entire day, and we saw it, that Tenzin had this delusion that that Aang loved everyone equally. And maybe he did in his own way, but the fact that he always brought only Tenzin on trips and paid special attention to him made the other ones feel kind of lesser. So the fact that that Tenzin thought that his entire family was always on that trips, and they're like, no, we were never there, Tenzin. Tenzin was like, no, you guys were there. They're like,
No, we weren't.
No, we weren't. Like, stop, So I can understand why they were suddenly like, okay, no, stop what you're doing. Like, we weren't there.
Right. I don't know. Peter, Andrew, what did you guys think of that plot line?
I thought it was really fascinating that Aang wasn't the best father. I agree it did. To people watching just that episode, they just suddenly introduced the idea that he was not a good father, and that just was something that never occurred to me.
Of course, it was like, oh, Aang Avatar. Aang's a good person. We know Aang. We grew up with him. But we never saw him being a parent. We never saw him and Katara raising their children.
Well, which I like because I think Kai even mentions like he was off, keeping peace, doing his Avatar thing basically, which makes sense. Like being the Avatar, you probably don't have the time to be a good family man.
It's like being the president.
Because we just assume like, oh, Aang was our protagonist. He was so awesome in the original show. Of course, he's the perfect father, But I like the fact that they're delving into the idea that Aang wasn't perfect.
And I'm with both of them on this. That I love the idea that he wasn't perfect. I wish it was alluded to a little bit more rather than suddenly stating, "Hey, Dad wasn't the best dad."
Right.
What about you? I love. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say what about you, Andrew?
I was gonna say. I love that we find because Aang, the closest to a character flaw we had on Aang in the first season was I'm too nice and too trusting, which really isn't.
And
a
he was
character flaw.
immature.
And
he
he ran away from his responsibility.
But he kind of got over it. Like that was a character arc for him though, and then that was just kind of over with. Like this is like a genuine character flaw that makes sense as to him as a person, and I like that he finally has like an actual flaw that we can that makes him like a person.
Yeah, which it does make sense if you think about it, because if he is the Avatar, he has to spend so much time doing things around the world. With the time he gets to spend with his family, and he knows he's not going to live forever, he would want to spend a lot of time with Tenzin because Tenzin's the one who's going to carry on the Airbender legacy.
Right, and the fact that Kaya was mad, it's like, geez, Dad, you're so busy being the Avatar. God damn it. No, it's like, okay, no, the Avatar is probably the highest responsibility anyone in the world can have. It's like, geez, Dad, way to be the savior of the world. Gosh, why didn't you baby me when I was a kid? It's like, he had things to do. He didn't have abundant free time. He had to keep the world from falling apart.
I agree with you, but at the same time, it's almost like those parents that work way too much and kind of neglect their children, while Aang was doing much better work than simply working at an office or whatever. It's the same kind of concept.
I understand why they would be mad. It's like if I were to be mad at my dad for having to go to New York every week to work on the railroad, and I can't do that because that's what we have to do.
Yeah.
And I still get to see him sometimes in the summertime when he's home for the weekends. So I get why they'd be mad. It's like, geez, I wish we would have spent more time, because he probably, I think it's been said that he did die prematurely.
Yeah.
So
he
definitely, so he didn't get to spend all the time with his kids, but at the same time, it's a little unreasonable of them to be like, geez, Dad.
Well, and apparently they've been bottling this up.
Yeah.
Because they haven't talked about it until
which is very
now.
unhealthy. And then Kai's like, yeah, I spent all this time with Mom while you were doing things. And it's like, sorry, I was commanding an army and raising air babies.
Air babies.
But then again,
the most ADD children ever. That is a full-time job. Keeping them in line.
Yeah.
But then again, also, Tenzin was the one that kind of started that, though, because he did say something along the lines of, "Oh well, Kaya, while you were out finding yourself, and then she was like, "Okay, well."
I'm the one who had to come back and take care of Mom when the dad died.
Yeah, so they were all just being jerks to each other.
Right.
A little bit. Which was, it was made for good drama in that episode.
It's legit sibling rivalry.
I love, what's his name? Boomy. I love Boomy. He's hilarious.
I love him because he's clearly the son that represents Aang's personality the most, the happiness, the carefreeness. Both Tenzin and Kaya very much are Katara-like. They are more reserved, more calm. But Boomy very much represents the sort of jolly, carefree
I
aspect
love how he
of
named
Aang.
him after Boomy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It is so perfect.
And I also like the idea that, Boomy goes there and tries to climb down that waterfall like, oh, I can do it even though I'm not a bender. Like, I'm sure that was very much a, brother-sister, complex going on in that family, that he's the only non-bender basically in this group.
So he's like, I can do what you guys can do,
Right.
and I'm gonna even try and do it better than you.
And he's the oldest one.
Yes, he is the oldest.
But the thing, though, it's the same thing with, like, Katara, Sokka, Aang. Sokka was a non-bender. He was the oldest. Katara was the middle. She was a waterbender. And then Tenzin and Aang were the youngest. It's the same thing.
Yeah, actually, I hadn't thought of it, but it sort of is. Going back then, episode 3 obviously had that going on, and then had the Korra storyline, up in the South Pole. And one thing I actually liked is, like, the end of episode 2, when you see the ships coming in, it made you think, like, oh, Unalaq's obviously evil, But then he says, like, no, my troops are coming in here, we're trying to unify the North and the South. I want you to go up to the North to open the Northern portal, and then we'll be able to basically teleport between the North and the South and reunite our cultures. And I was like, okay, so, he's being evil, but he actually has a reason for what he's doing, which I kind of liked. So I thought that was a nice dimension to his character in episode 3. And then we got, all the rebels, quote unquote, meeting inside Tanrak, Korra's dad's house, and Varric, of course, is the one who's like, we gotta, fight Unalaq, he's oppressing us or whatever, which makes a lot of sense given what we learn later. Of course, Varric's the one who incites this conflict. Although I do wonder, partially it's probably him being evil and, like, wanting money and manipulating this situation to his advantage. But I think part of it's also probably, like, I think he's a Southerner and he probably doesn't like Unalaq just coming in and invading the South.
Well, the main thing was that he was stopping the ports, so
Yeah,
Varric
that's
couldn't.
right.
So Varric couldn't get his supplies out, and
Something about
that,
tuna.
That makes it so that he's like, hey, who's gonna buy my fish? No,
Seriously, anyone want it?
Yeah, he's like, guys, that wasn't rhetorical. Seriously, who can anyone buy my fish?
That's right. And we also got more of Bolin and Eska in this episode, because Bolin's, like, constantly apparently trying to break up with her, but then is too nice to do it.
I was so disappointed with how that went.
I know.
Like, oh my god.
What, that Bolin didn't have a backbone?
No,
No.
the fact that Bolin cannot get a nice girlfriend.
Oh.
Exactly.
Like, I'm like, oh, I get really excited, and I was pumped because Eska was, like, kind of on board with this whole thing, and then she turned out to be
A psycho.
very, like, I don't think it's psychotic. Like, I think that's just how she was raised, and it's just way too confined. Like, she's and her brother have obviously been pampered and coddled since they were younger. So then Bolin is like this. It's because, like, the newest episode about what she said to Korra that got me thinking like this. Like, she's like, you took away my Bolin. Up until that point, she had not said his name. It's my poor turtle duck.
Turtle duck.
Like, my
Slave.
something. Like, you were
She
so
definitely
cute.
called
when you,
him slave at
yeah,
one.
call him
like,
slave,
she's yet to call him Bolin. And that's the point. And she's been crying. It's obvious she was crying. Her makeup's all down her face. So she obviously has something for him. And the fact that she doesn't know how to express it, and then he's all panicky about it, and they made her out to be this terrifying psychopath. And I don't think she really is. She just doesn't know how to feelings.
Like, I
Maybe
think
I'm
I
just
love her.
overly attached to psychotic characters and can't see this, but
You're shipping it.
That is an
I am
interesting
too.
dimension that I never really thought about, Clara. Like, I never, because she did think,
I-
like, psychopath.
I really liked Eska as a character until recently, where they kind of made her out to be a psycho.
we're getting married tonight.
Yeah, so I'm
Yeah.
I'm just hoping that eventually either the twins change and maybe they start helping the Avatar and the cause, or I don't know, or then I just stop caring about the characters because I don't really have a reason to.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Because at first, like, in the first 2 episodes, Eska was like, I didn't really like her because she was being very cold and, like, obviously, like, not a happy person to be in a relationship with. But at least she was funny and she wasn't being too psychotic. Then episodes 3 and 4, she takes it to a whole nother level. But at the same time, I, like you, Clara, I was actually a little bit sad when in episode 5 she's fighting Korra and she says, like, you took my Bolin away, as she's fighting Korra. I was actually like, oh, so
She was looking forward to this.
yeah, she cares in just a really twisted way.
Like, she doesn't know how to feelings. Like, oh, there's a huge rift between us. Let's get married. not, oh, let's maybe work this out and talk about it, because she doesn't know how to do that. Like, they're probably arranged marriages, and so that whole thing with the necklace, like, that's
Which was just like the creepiest version of what
Like, it
Katara
was just
wore.
a skull.
It was a skull.
A skull with chains on it.
Yeah. Well, I loved in episode 3, she said, we will live in the north in icy bliss. Or something like that.
Yeah.
And Bolin makes another crack at Mako, which I always like when he's talking to her about, like, to deal with Eska.
that
She's
was
like,
so funny.
oh, you're so good at breaking girls' hearts.
Oh, I caught that, and I
I know.
laughed.
I love him. I love that he says that. Like,
But then right after the tone of what he says, he goes, "Oh right, I should. Oh okay, I'm sorry." Like,
It's like, you crossed the line there, Bolin.
oh my bad.
I love
It's
that
true, though.
he was getting snippy though. Like he's just been progressively getting more and more snippy as this
He's
is
had
going. Like,
enough.
stop taking like Mako's
fine with
crap
it.
and just
Yeah.
like shoving back against Mako. Finally,
I will say this: I've been liking Mako much more as a character.
I have too. Like
Yeah.
And I feel I'm scared for it.
I've been
I
liking
know.
Exactly.
I've been liking Mako more and more, which is really weird, and Korra less and less.
Yeah.
She's so
Well,
obnoxious.
They've definitely done a better job with Mako in season 2 than they did in season 1. Like, much better. Which is probably intentional because they knew that a lot of people didn't like Mako in season 1, so they probably wanted to give him
Yeah.
more screen time in season 2.
I can tell that they're making it so that we are annoyed and frustrated with Korra, but they're almost shoving it down our throats at this point.
Yeah.
Like, she's mad at everyone all the time, never thinks she's wrong.
I didn't even feel bad when she was crying. I was like,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
you brought this on yourself. He's been dealing with this for way too long.
Now, see, I don't know. I've seen some people, online who are like really mad at Korra, and legitimately so. Like, they are obviously writing her to be somewhat unlikable in these episodes because they are going to make her go through some growth, and I definitely think that's happening in the near future in the show. However, she has a lot of justifications for what she's doing. Like, and we're skipping around here a little bit, but whatever. In episode 5, she shows up and they're doing that peace march thing in Republic City for the South. And
That was
Mako's
good.
like, oh, you probably shouldn't go there. You should seem impartial. And she's like, I'm not impartial. And people were sort of like mad at her for that. But I was all like, of course you're not impartial. Was Aang impartial when he was fighting the Fire Nation? Was Roku impartial? Was Kyoshi impartial when she fought, that evil tyrant in her time? Unalaq is very clearly the aggressor in all of this.
The thing, though, is that before it was very obvious that the Fire Nation were the evil ones and they wanted to take over. Unalaq, at that point during the march, actually, no, hold on.
no, they had revealed that he did
No,
all those
you're right.
evil things.
Sorry, no, that's my fault. I was thinking of the semi-march way before when Korra was just patrolling the city and the two sides started fighting.
Right, that was in
And
episode
then her
3.
dad-
This
yeah,
was
so
still in the southern
Never
tribe.
mind. I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah, see, so I totally get what she's going for there, because basically it's like, if I don't get military help for the South, my family is going to be annihilated,
Yeah.
and everyone I love is going to die. That's a pretty strong motivation. So
Yeah.
I totally get where she's coming from there. One thing I really liked in episode 3, I saw someone making this point online that I thought was really smart, is when she's talking with her mom by herself, she's talking about like her dad, and the mom was like, oh, so the truth finally came out, about us lying to you about, being locked up in that compound or whatever. And Senna brings up a good point. It's like, we just wanted to have a normal family, but then it turned out you were the Avatar and normal was like gone for us, And Korra says something like, I never wanted to be a normal kid. I just wanted to be the Avatar. And it's like, once again, the whole idea of reversal of what Aang was. Aang was the Avatar, but he just wanted to be a normal kid. Whereas Korra just wanted to be the Avatar, but feels like she's being treated like a normal kid, It's like a nice reversal there, and I really like that as a element to her character.
I like it a lot. I just think that the main reason why everyone's so frustrated is because she is taking everything to the extreme, which makes sense for Korra's character because she is very headstrong. But just the way that she talks to everyone, like she starts every conversation with just aggression. Wow, that was creepy.
Same
you two
brain.
go.
Always an accusation with
Reading
her.
your mind.
Yes.
No, but Mark and I have the same brain. It's pretty spooky.
Well, me and Andrew are the same person.
Spooky
so.
boogie.
Yeah, we
Boogie
are.
boogie.
Yay! We heard it again. Did you guys actually think in episode 3 when you saw those guys kidnapping Unalaq, did you think the big guy was actually her dad? Because I
No.
was kind of like,
No.
it's
No,
probably not.
No.
The fact
I-
that he didn't respond to her, I was like, not her dad.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I was interested by the concept. I try not to. at the time I was trying not to jump ahead in terms of plots and whatnot, just because I wanted to let it come as it may. I apparently just gave up on that, but
just gave up on that eventually. And I did like at the end of that episode, where she comes back to her house, sees her dad there, and like tears up and hugs them.
was great.
That was a great little moment because it's like, family bonding.
Yeah, they
and
finally made up.
Yeah, she was so scared that he was, there with Unalaq, and he's like, no, I'd never, go that far. I disagree with my brother, but whatever. And then we had the cliffhanger at the end of the episode where Unalaq steps in and is like, I'm arresting you for trying to murder me.
When he
Dun, dun,
obviously
dun.
wasn't there. And that's
The
what
hell.
burned me up.
Yeah, but at the same time, it was at his house that the meeting was held and blah, blah, blah.
But-
Blah, blah, blah.
And then we learned that
The whole
Unalaq
trial
was
is rigged.
basically
Right.
rigging everything.
But that's something I liked in the trial, though, because the judge asked her, like, did your father hold this meeting with the culprits at your house? And she's like, yeah.
They're
and
all
that is
loaded questions. Though.
of course they're loaded questions because, to be fair, there's some evidence to suggest that maybe Tonrock was involved with it. I mean, he's not completely innocent, but of course he wasn't really involved.
See,
blah,
I
blah,
thought
blah.
that was a like it's a weird misstep because up until this point, Unalaq has been developed as like this very cold, very calculating villain that like understands how to manipulate everybody, and then he makes a really bold move. Like if he wants to control Korra, he makes a really bold move of arresting her father. Like that's a bold move, and like he lost control of her because of that. Like he should have like let that go if he wanted to continue to control her more effectively.
But-
So
See, I think in his mind he needed to get rid of what's his name, Tonrock, both
yeah.
so he could more easily take over the South, and also so he could control her further. Because remember, instead of initially they were going to be executed, and then he asked the judge, "Oh, can you just make it life in prison instead?" And he's like, "Okay." And they let Senna, the Korra's mom, go. She's like, "You're not guilty." So he appeased Korra somewhat.
but it wasn't enough because he should know by now that she just would not take that. Like
I
It wouldn't be
think
enough.
the way he was going about it was he was doing two birds with one stone. So he would get Tonrock out of the way and have Korra on his side even more.
but that obviously that backfired. 'cause she's
Yeah,
like,
of
no,
course.
this is crap. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I felt like that was a really bold move on his part because he clearly does need her to do the thing to the northern.
Which is what I thought was
forest.
odd, because near the end of the episode, when she's confronting him in the prison, he's like, she's like, well, if you move out and everything, I'll go close your spirit portal in the north, whatever. He's like, no, I don't need you, blah blah blah. And then like an episode or two later, he's like, yeah, I totally need her.
I think
it was a bluff.
it was a bluff, and he just didn't want Korra to think she had any power over him.
Right. Well, yeah, he wasn't gonna let her basically put an ultimatum over his head and force him to do anything. Because I guess in his mind, if he just captures her alive and can somehow force her to, spirit world stuff, then he can still get what he wants. So
One more reason for Unalaq to arrest his brother is that's one less person who can potentially connect the threads of, he's been planning this for a long time. He planned the Fire Tribe invading the north and the destruction of the spirit forest in the north. He planned all this, and like by getting rid of the person who like a heavy player in that entire event, he gets rid of one more person who has details.
right. That's definitely true. I also loved in that episode, it's near the beginning, where Eska and Desna, come into the room that Bolin, Mako, and Asami are in, are looking for Varric, and then they leave. And then you just hear Varric, and he's in the platypus bear.
I love platypus bears, by the way.
I lost it.
That was hilarious, especially since
funny.
Julie.
Yeah.
Was
money.
When I saw the framing for the episode and they were looking for Varric, I'm like, I know he's in the platypus bear. I did not expect Julie to be in there too, because this was like, how and why?
Julie, this tea is cold.
It was very
There's no
obvious they were in the
honey.
platypus bear because the animation was slightly different than the rest of
Yep.
the background. But it was hilarious because when he goes like, "Julie, where's my like tea, honey?" and I was like, wait, I'm sorry, what?
Both of them are in there.
Of course. So that was hilarious. I think Eska says some line to Bolin, or no, Bolin calls Eska my sweet koala otter. So that's like where he's like bowing to her or something
You're
like
so
that.
cute when you grovel.
Yeah, that's right. It's
That
like,
line.
oh,
The thing is, like, that's a sincere compliment from her, but it's just twisted.
horrifying.
It's worded in just
She
not
wants
well.
to be nice. She wants to be nice.
She doesn't know how.
Yeah. And I did think it was interesting later in that episode where, like, she visits her dad in prison, and he's like, don't do anything reckless, don't try to break me out, blah,
do
blah,
everything
blah.
reckless.
But then Korra sees her mom crying alone in her kitchen, because, like, her life is falling apart.
like, well-
and she's like, all right, we're doing this.
Yeah.
And I actually quite liked that scene where she
Oh, yeah.
interrogated the judge, like,
That was great.
There are a lot of qualities, obviously, between Korra and Aang that are, like, negative. But one thing that Korra can do is she can be aggressive in an awesome way that do things that Aang would never do. And that was one of them, holding his
Thing
head
was
in
when-
the mouth of the polar bear dog.
When Aang did get angry, though, you knew that he had been pushed over. Like, the whole thing with Appa, you knew that one more step and he was going to just destroy the world.
Well, I think...
So, like, even, like, he did go in Avatar State that one time when he found out that the guy did sell Appa. And, like, when he gets mad, it's business. When Korra gets mad, it's like, oh, Korra's mad again.
Well,
But this time she was actually, like, doing the good thing when she was mad and not just blowing up at everyone.
Yeah. Well, it's sort of like, I don't know about you guys, at least at my house, like, my dad's the one who usually gets mad, and will yell or whatever. But if mom gets mad and is yelling at you, like, you've done something wrong, she doesn't yell very often. So when she does, it's like, okay, better listen, because that's bad.
I know what you mean.
But-
Between the
feel.
legs.
And I did, obviously, it was a cool scene, and that's where we learned all this information about Unlock being just pure evil, pretty much. But I was sort of thinking, like, what if the Judge Hotai guy wasn't evil, if he was actually, like, neutral and normal or whatever, then Korra would be, like, arrested for assaulting a federal judge, and be sent to prison, because she just comes up there and attacks him, assuming that he knows something.
well, they'd try, and then she'd, Avatar State.
Maybe.
Which, I mean,
who knows?
That's another interesting... It correlates to the temper thing.
I kind of
Aang very rarely enters the Avatar State until, like, later seasons. But
Oh,
when
yeah.
he does, it's very impressive. Korra
Korra
does it
does
all
it
the time,
all
and
the
it's just
time.
like,
It's not even a
I'm
big
doing
deal.
normal things.
Well,
but
I
I'm in
find
Avatar
that
State.
really funny, though.
I think the reason for it, though, is that Aang didn't have control over the spirit world until literally the last episode of the series, or not the spirit world, the Avatar State, till the last
He-
episode. Korra has it already, so
Like,
she
the
can
thing
use
with
it
him,
more
though, is
often.
that he every time he needed to use it, it was in a time when it conflicted with his beliefs, like either ending a life or attacking someone. And it was like the one time he tried to do it to protect people, he got shot in the back with lightning, which messed up everything.
And then he it was
Then
both sealed for a
died.
time, and didn't he also just be like, yeah, no, I don't want to do that anymore. Like, I don't like what that
well,
does to me.
in the very first episode of Book 2, that's the one where the Earth General guy buries Qatar to try to force him into the Avatar State, and then that's where he gets really scared of it. And then at the end of Book 2, he goes to the Guru guy and unlocks his chakras and everything, but then he gets, zapped by Azula, and then it's blocked until he hits that pressure point when he's fighting Ozai, and all just comes back to him, and he wrecks his face,
Which
which
is
was
great.
awesome.
I remember watching that and I was like, ooh.
It was exactly what we wanted for a final fight.
You knew he had to go Avatar State, use all 4 elements to beat Ozai. I mean, it was a given. It was just awesomely executed. Yeah, and personally, at least for me, I was actually a little disappointed that Unalaq turned out to be just the pure evil villain, because I actually liked the idea that he was like more this gray morality villain, where like he actually had some legitimate reasons for what he was doing, trying to unite the tribes
Like
and
in the
defend the
beginning he
spirit
did.
world.
Well-
right, but then it turns out,
Never mind.
I hired this mercenary group to attack the capital of the north, and then told them to hide in this forest, knowing my brother would go in there and cause the spirits to come attack, knowing then that would get him banished, and then I could eventually concoct this evil plan to go take over the south, and mwahahaha. He's just pure evil at this point.
Amon was the same way. Like, for most in the first season, and for most of it, you're listening, and Amon saying things like, no, we are being oppressed because we don't have magic powers that can shape the very forces of nature in the world. And there would be oppression, and you do get that. And like, I'm starting like, I can't disagree with you, Amon, until the very end, in like the last episode where he just like, yeah, I'm also just like evil and
Trying to
A
conquer the world.
bloodbender.
It's like, hey, I'm actually a bender. I just want to take everyone else's bending away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to be the very best that no one ever
So-
was.
And, he's not trying to make the world equal. He's trying to
Make
put
himself
non-benders in power, pretty much.
But what I did like, though, was the fact that
He was terrifying up until the end.
he was terrifying
Well,
up to the
yeah.
end, and this with Unalaq, it took 2 episodes to 2 or 3 episodes to figure out he was evil.
4. Episode 4 was where you found out he was evil.
Okay, well, 4 episodes. Whereas with season 1, it took an entire season basically to figure out Amon's backstory and all that stuff. And like, I liked that for a first season, but because you know how we all just said we really like the pacing.
Yeah.
I do kind of like how very quickly they go, this is the bad guy. Like, here you go.
And they let
And
the
he's not
characters
even the
be
real
smart
bad
enough to
guy.
figure that out.
And he's not even like the real bad guy.
Well, that's what's interesting because as far as bad guys go, right now we've got like Varric now,
That
Unalaq,
was so
And-
sad.
I love it.
and the spirit world stuff because
Okay.
that's going to be coming back in a
Let's-
big way soon.
Let's talk a little bit about Varric and what led up to that, because that
I'm
was
so
genius.
sad.
That was
I love
genius
it
writing.
so much.
Yeah. Well, like I said earlier, in episode 5, when he was talking with Asami, that hilarious brainstorming session where he's like hanging upside down on that pole, to come up with these ideas. And he says something like, if you can't make money during a war, then you just can't make money. And it's like, that's probably like, and people forget, like, he's the one who got those mercenary or the people in the South to go attack Unalaq in episode 3 to kidnap him and presumably kill him or something, So Varric's sort of been a shady character even from the beginning.
But his attitude makes us forget about all
Exactly.
that.
And
And that's the worst kind of villain.
and the main reason why
The best.
I wasn't all too worried with the war comment, because that isn't even like a maybe. That's a fact that like you make the most profit in a war, So when he said that, I'm like, oh, he's just being a good businessman. He's kind of crazy, a little weird, but he's very he knows what he's doing.
He was like motivating them.
and
Yeah.
he's very charismatic.
Yeah, but for me, it was the thing, yeah, you're making the point that war helps you make money, so it would be in your best interest to,
Keep it going.
Yeah, make this war happen, pretty much, which is sort of what he's been doing.
But everything was his plan this whole time. Everything he's done, everything he's said.
Yeah. Well, what was
Oh my
interesting about it was
God.
when Korra was meeting with the President Raiko in episode 5, turns out, I like it when Korra brings these elements of the real world into Korra, because that actually makes it feel, more real. Like the fact that there are peace marches, because that's the thing that happens in the real world. Or that Varric was the biggest banker for this guy to get elected president, because that's how political commands work. People pay big money, to get someone elected or whatever. So the fact that, Varric basically got this guy elected through his money, and yet, but the president still turns, Varric down, because Varric was the one who was like, you need to send troops to go support the South. I wonder if was that Varric actually wanting the president to do that and the president turning him down, or was that Varric telling the president, hey, don't send troops to the South, so that, Korra becomes more desperate, and I'm doing this in a way so it looks like I'm on her side, but I'm really not,
I can't tell anymore, honestly.
Because Raiko could
It's
totally
hard.
be in his pocket.
Almost anyone could be in his pocket. I knew, and this is probably the only thing I didn't like in the newest episode. I knew it was a bad idea when Mako tried to get the triple threats to help them.
Because at one
He's
point in a
never
previous
good at
episode, didn't he
mobsters.
say that one of the people who attacked the Peace March was part of a gang?
No, I guess he
think
found
I
a
remember that.
part of something.
Yeah, he did find a photo and was like, I recognize that guy. He's part of something or other. But it might not have been the triple threat.
was-
It might
wasn't-
not
it
have been,
wasn't
in
the
which
triple
case my
threat.
thing is invalid. But
No, yeah, but I mean, I know what you mean though, and if I don't know if you guys saw, but there were those mini webisodes that showed the backstory. So if you had seen those, you would know that Mako has had backstory with these guys and knows that these guys are bad news. So I'm like,
Right.
yeah, Mako, I get that you're desperate, but
Well,
hiring
You know
gang
better.
members is just not going to work. You're
Well,
a detective.
Yeah, well, I found it a little bit hypocritical because in the previous episode, Mako was all like, yes, I'm going to stop Korra from doing a illegal thing and defend my job because that's what's right. And then the next episode was like, well, I can't do what I want at my job because Lin Beifong's not going to let me, so I'm going to go behind her back and do something illegal.
I'm going to be honest. I think it was partially to get back at Korra. Mako has been having all these problems with Korra, and she's just not listening to him. And
He's getting really frustrated.
and he's
no
getting really
one's
frustrated,
paying
and
him
so-
any attention.
And so when he told Korra that he thought that this was a bad idea from the beginning, and he said that he wanted her to stop before it got worse. So I think that when she asked about it, Mako told her not just to kind of get back at her, but also to stop Korra from doing something that could possibly get her in even more trouble later.
Right.
You know?
And I do get that, but at the same time, like you say, they argued so much, she had been so mean to him. She was sort of mean to him in the first 2 episodes, but by the end, she apologized and they made up and they hugged, And then episodes 3 and 4 happened, and that wasn't really so much focused on Korra and Mako. That was more Unalaq. And then episode 5, they have like 2 arguments before the breakup scene.
Yeah. It's just, if you noticed, they did apologize, but then it always went back to arguing. Like, no matter how many times Korra was like, I'm sorry, I'm just stressed, she always kept doing it again. It was just like a vicious cycle.
Like, the thing is that Korra would start these fights and then be like, Mako, you're no help, and I'm going to storm away. This is all your fault. And he's like, what did I do? And it's bad when I start defending Mako, because if
He's
anyone
just
knows
not
anything,
interesting.
I do not like Mako.
Wait, no, like I like Mako, like especially
Well,
after
now we do.
especially after the last episode when he's just like also just like suddenly really competent at his job. It's like
Nightwing.
yeah. Like I said, he's Nightwing, and I'm like, since when did I start liking you? And when did you do that to me, show?
I also liked that he did not immediately return Asami's feelings. She
Oh.
kisses
I like
him, and then she kisses him, which I understand. She's
Probably
I
still
do
has
not
feelings.
understand.
she
She's
still
emotional.
she still has feelings for Mako. She's very frustrated. She's scared. So she's like, okay, kisses him, and then he's just straight faced and just no, it's okay. So I gotta run, but I'll talk to you later.
Can I just say, when I saw that happen when Asami kissed Mako, I literally groaned. I was like, oh God, please don't do this again. I don't want another love triangle. We did this last season. I really
They
hope they
just
don't.
be together, like, and just not
No.
just have him not date Korra.
I'm okay.
again?
I'm okay with. Here's the thing. I get that drama sells sometimes, but please, can we just have one relationship in this show?
That
That's
isn't
steady.
horrendous.
One relationship that is steady and and please have it be Bolin. Please have it be Bolin.
Oh no, we've got Tenzin and Pema, guys.
No, that
Because
doesn't
they
count.
show up
They're
all
married.
the time.
Oh wait. But
Plus,
there's
there's
also
also-
now it's not drama because we don't see it. But there's also the whole thing between Tenzin and Beifong.
Oh, you should have seen Air Temple Island once Tenzin broke up with me. And I'm like, oh.
What did you do?
I saw a fan comic of that online.
That was
It
hilarious.
was pretty great, actually.
Tenzin is like a big weenie or
But
something.
to answer that question, I mean, the thing is, it's a drama thing. It would get boring after a while if Mako and Korra were just together for the next 3 seasons of Korra, and nothing changed about the relationship.
They
have
just
to
start
have
off so
just-
lovey-dovey
ju-
and then just
just-
explodes.
Just one steady relationship. That's all I'm asking. Not all of them have to. Just one.
because we don't even have friendships right now.
Yeah,
We have
exactly.
Even cycle
nothing.
between. Like, there are enough relationship pathways. Like, Bolin is going between Asami in my mind, and then apparently Ginger, the actress, and then
I feel like that's
Katara's
not
gonna have
anything.
one.
Well, no, it's
And
not.
I mean, there's enough characters that they could have multiple relationships, and I honestly believe even if they just cycle drama between them and just made sure there was a steady relationship at every
Or
point in time, or just a
something.
steady friendship where two
Because-
people are just like, we're really close and we don't argue,
'Cause
and
now
we're just
there's, like-
enjoyable.
Well,
There was
Korra and
Bolin and
Bolin,
Varric.
Korra and Bolin have been friends this whole time. They
But
just haven't
they don't
interacted much.
But they're never together. And
Right.
we had Bolin and Varric being BFFs. And now it's like, well, now you're evil.
I loved.
he's
Meh.
still BFFs.
yeah, but he's evil.
Yeah,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
They
but
don't know that yet.
I really liked the relationship, the friendship, and also because of that one episode, I actually kind of started shipping at the Bolin and Asami.
Bosami.
Just that one episode where he helped her out and she was really happy and they hugged. I'm like, oh, it's really cute. You guys are really good friends. And then I was like, oh, maybe that'll be something, but that hasn't even been alluded to. So that's not going to happen. But can we just have one friendship or relationship or just something that will keep us going between the drama? Because as of now, I love the drama, I love the plot, but there's a little too much drama for me.
I can see that, but I sort of see it as a thing I actually like how book 2 in general, it's obviously more complex plot-wise, because we got all these different plot lines going on, all of these characters are in all these different places, but also just the relationships and the things going on are more complex than they were in season 1, because it's with the Korra and Mako thing, I see you can fall on one side or the other, saying Korra's right, saying Mako's right, between Mako and Bolin, they're both kind of right. No one person is really pure right, there's just different sides to the argument, and I like that it's brought that complexity to it, and I think it's going to be a thing where it's going to be all the more satisfying when they do get back together, and if Korra and Mako get back together, if they just become friends again or whatever it is, when things get right again, it's going to feel fulfilling because
I want
has
that
been so screwed up.
resolution.
Well, that's the point. They're going to give that to you, but later, so they're going to keep you watching because they know you want that.
Yeah.
It's called dramatic storytelling.
No,
I was-
now.
I
That's
was
how drama works.
floored, but also very surprisingly happy, and I'll explain. But when Varric was basically shown to be the villain, it was
chair
it-
swivel.
It broke me.
He's so cunning. He's so cunning, and he has that smug grin when he turns around and just sees Mako, and he looks at him with the face that says, "I know you know that I'm evil, but I don't really care." Like,
Yeah.
I just won.
Yeah.
And then Asami stands up like, he saved my company. He's like, yeah, I just won.
And she's
And he
so
probably
happy
took
and
all of her
cute looking.
things so he could do this because he knew Mako
he
was
definitely
investigating. And it's just like, Varric, why? Stop.
He's
the
why?
Because he's been
love
their
him.
he's been their friend, so he's been in on everything they've been talking about. Like he knew that they were doing this whole plan to because it was his boat that they were using to go out and do the thing with the triple threats, as the sting operation.
What
if you
plan
will.
are we doing? I love being in on plans.
See, that's what
I
when
like
I
not
love not
knowing,
knowing anything.
I like not knowing things, and I'm like, you SOB, you know so many things.
But that is when I started suspecting him most of all, because he had just been like talking with the police officers and he was trying to get them away from looking deeper. And then the moment Asami was trying to make them do something on the side and away from the police, he's like, "I'm in on this. I'll do whatever you want. You don't have to tell me anything." Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Although what's
I have a boat. You
some-
need a boat. I have a boat.
Something I just thought of. Remember, at the end of episode 6 starts with those guys throwing the bombs onto the boat, which is Varric's boat that's transforming Asami's mecha tanks to the south. And they blow it up. So that means he's willing to blow up his own boat and
He's a billionaire.
My
all
fifth
those mecha
favorite boat.
tanks,
Rocky
to accomplish this plan. Which is kind of interesting.
Since it was his boat and
His
his
favorite.
property, he might not have even blown it up.
like-
He might have just paid the captain to say it was blown up and sent all the things there, and now he just
I
doesn't.
know. I'm
have to
pretty
pay
sure
for
we
it.
saw it blow. Like those explosives definitely went off.
We saw the explosives go off on the ship, but if you notice, I don't think there were any explosives on the sides of the ship, so it probably didn't go down.
Maybe, but they definitely were in a lifeboat. Like the crew
Yeah.
and everyone was in a lifeboat.
Because there were explosions on deck.
Okay.
It's Varric's stuff.
I actually like the idea that Varric destroyed the boat, but had like super insurance on it, so he just gets all that money back and more anyways. It's like
And then-
manipulating everything.
But this also like puts him above suspicion on the whole thing. That's like the idea. It's
Yep.
like no, like
like
what
he-
evidence? I blew up my fifth favorite boat.
Who would do that?
He also does this thing where he just acts like an idiot. Like, oh, I've got a plane. Do you have a runway? Oh, yeah, Julie, we need one of those things. And he does all
Put it
this
on the boat.
ignorant stuff. And then it's like, never mind. I was actually really cunning this whole time, and I've been really smart. I'm just not
it's
telling
brilliant. Like
you.
I think that's like a facade that he just like keeps to like make people underestimate
Well,
him. He's just on top of everything.
even though like I was sort of suspecting him, like when we saw that there's someone else behind the scenes on this blowing up of that building, during the south peace march. It's not the North doing it; it's someone else. I was sort of suspecting Varric, and his comment about the war and stuff. So I was suspecting him, but it still made me so sad when he did the evil smirk turn around, because I'm like, you're my favorite like new character. You're the funniest character in the show. Why do you have to be the villain?
I think like before that point, I like turned to Mark and I love Varric so much.
And
He's so funny.
I grinned, but you didn't know why I was grinning, because in my head I was like, yeah, like outwardly to you, I'm like, yeah, he is one of my favorite characters also. And in my head, I'm like, oh, you're not there yet.
You saw the latest episode?
Yeah.
You didn't. You said you didn't see it.
No,
Well,
no.
we've been talking about it.
No. I said I had seen it, but I wanted to see it with you again
Oh,
because I
okay.
liked that episode so much.
I was under
It's
the
a good
impression
episode.
you didn't know, and I was like, but
No. I
You
did
lied
know.
to me.
you lied to me.
Real quick, I want to rewind back to episode 4 because something you said. That little scene of them shooting the fire off the back of the plane to get it off this really super short runway, and then Korra going Avatar state and like water bending that huge ball to like go through the blockade of North ships. That was pretty cool. I like that a lot.
That's like one instance when Avatar state is necessary.
Yeah,
Not
that was worth it.
beating children at airball.
Well, that was excessive, but the other time she's used it have all been when she's fighting the spirits, and then it's like, well, I need this to to have more power. Even with the Avatar state, she usually gets beaten because these spirits are super powerful.
The reason why I don't mind that she uses the Avatar state so willy-nilly is because, let's be honest, if a normal person had superpowers, like, why not just use it all the time? You know? Like, yeah, it might be abuse of power, but come on, that would be really awesome.
This is the same thing that I had when I was watching Naruto. Back in the day when I watched Naruto and not read it. It was during the filler episodes, and Naruto used Rasengan to power a boat. And I was like,
what? Okay.
Yeah, he used it as a motor to get the. It was a little wooden boat, and they're like, "Oh, we're being chased." Rasengan in the water as like a propeller, and then Jiraiya's like, "Yeah, you keep doing that. I'll take a nap." And I'm like, You spent like a week burning your hands because of chakra to master that, and you didn't even master it until the super battle, and then it's just the super ace in the whole. That's your thing. You shadow clone, and then you Rasengan. That is your thing. Why are you using it to power a boat? This is so dumb. And like that's how I feel whenever Korra does the Avatar state. It's like, yes, this is the thing you do, but it's a special thing. It's like if I were to fly, I'd be flying all the time.
Well, I think we're saying that because once again, comparing it to the original show, in the original show, Aang didn't have control over it, so he only did it on rare occasions. Like, it only happens, a couple of times.
It still showed how special it was, though. It's like a special thing that only the Avatar can do, and you use it to and like the fact that she gets beaten when she's in Avatar state. Avatar state is supposed to be this ungodly mode, and she's like, nah, I'm still really weak in this mode, and it kills me.
But the spirits, though.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Don't care.
Bending in general has not seemed to work very well on the spirits. The only thing that seems to work is that spirit bending thing that Unalaq does. There was Korra, Mako, Bolin, like Tenzin, all these people were fighting that one in the South Pole, and none of them, even Avatar, even Korra in the Avatar state, none of their bending did anything to it.
And it just takes Avatar state down to like normal bending levels. Like, well, this isn't all that great.
Especially
against spirits, yes.
Especially because when she does it, she doesn't do anything like incredibly impressive with it. Like,
yeah, we haven't seen her like move
it just
mountains
makes her
with
bending
it.
stronger and stuff. It's never like a giant fireball or a giant sea creature monster like Aang did.
Yeah.
Like, sure,
Well,
he didn't
I
have
understand.
complete control over that. When I see her going into the Avatar state, that means I'm expecting a really cool fight scene at the very least.
And then doesn't
I
happen.
haven't been getting
Okay.
that.
Yeah, I can understand that then.
Well, I don't know. I still think the Dark Spirit fight in the first episode is really cool, in my opinion.
But she has used it in like other normal smaller fights, and
It's just not
it,
worth it.
it is much
True.
less impressive than before.
Yeah, I'll admit that. I feel like probably later in the season we're going to see her do Avatar State and actually, like, in order to do something really impressive bending-wise, because so far it's, just been fight,
Hope so.
Not like when Aang, raised that water, over the burnt landscape, in the Earth Kingdom at the very end of
just
the show.
raises the tide.
Yeah, so it's like, I'm cool, just do this.
Totally, I'm so pumped over the fact that she got amnesia. You have no idea.
Yeah, see, I was surprised when she got eaten by the spirit world thing, but I was like, okay, well,
I thought she was actually going to go in the
interesting.
spirit world, and
That
it was going to be
would've
the
been-
whole
Yeah, that's
thing
what
we
I
keep
thought
seeing in
was
the
going.
trailers with her and Janora flying on dragons and stuff. And I thought we were going to do that. No, she wakes up on a beach on the Fire Temple Island.
I know, but see, I thought that when she got eaten by that spirit world monster, she'd wake up inside its belly and be like in spirit world land or something. But no, the fact that she washed up on the shore and has amnesia, I did not see that coming at all.
I love it.
I really like it too.
I have a
Andrew
feeling.
hates it.
I could be completely wrong, but I feel like the dark spirits are helping her.
I agree.
It could be actually
Because then why else would she land somewhere where she basically needs to be?
maybe we'll probably get an answer to that
Yeah.
eventually.
Yeah.
I get the feeling Unalaq's not in complete control of the dark spirits, and they are operating on their own agenda.
I don't think he's in control of them at all. I mean, it's pretty obvious that the spirits are the reason the dark spirits were attacking the South is because the South was in spiritual imbalance or whatever. And I also like what Unalaq was saying to her in episode 4 is probably going to happen. Like that, this war between the North and the South is going to anger the dark spirits even more and cause them to come in mass to destroy the South. Like that's going to be the climax of the show.
Have never been a problem until now.
Well, they have been. They just haven't been mentioned.
My theory.
Yeah, but it's like, hey guys, they do spirit things.
Like for example,
surprise.
why were those spirits never around not first season? I'm talking first, the normal
even
last
slightly
Airbender.
Like it because it's like, oh, we only have one season. But even then, it was first episode, hey guys, there's a really powerful spirit. Surprise.
But in with Aang, in
Right.
that whole series, Like, why did none of the spirits get mad when the Fire Nation was trying to take over?
And they did with the panda spirit was mad that its forest had been destroyed. You know?
but
That was one.
But
That
you,
was
you
one,
know
it
how
was
right now
cracking.
it seems like there's like at least like 6 or 7 spirits have attacked so far. Like, why was it just that one
Well,
time?
I think it's
you know?
more specifically they're attacking the South Pole because over the course of the 70 years since the 100-Year War, it sounds like that the South has gone away from its old-fashioned customs, become more modern, you know, and that's why
Which
the
is
spirits are
natural
angry.
of humans.
Right, and I feel like maybe there's even something more going on to it than just humans are not respecting the spirits as much, like because obviously tomorrow is this big 2-part episode, the beginning with the flashback with Avatar 1, the first Avatar, and that is going to detail a lot about how the spirits work with the human world, I think, and that's going to be really interesting.
Also kind of random, but I love who he's voiced by.
Yeah, it's someone from Walking Dead, right?
Yeah, that guy's one of my favorite characters
Daryl?
from that show. No, gosh, I forget his name. Glenn.
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 Oh, Glenn.
Yeah.
Glenn.
So
and that's the voice of Juan.
So
Yeah.
one
is
theory
too
that I
cute.
have for why the spirits are becoming a problem now, which isn't a perfect theory or anything like that, it's still kind of dumb that they're just now, like specifically this year, being a problem, is I like the idea that one of the forests is, like, there's a forest in the north and south. I like the whole yin-yang idea where one forest is supposed to be frozen and one is supposed to be a normal forest. And both were frozen, so then it became imbalanced and it built up over time and sort of came crushing down on the south. I like the idea that now that the south portal is open and the north portal is frozen, it's actually the way it's supposed to be. And by opening the portal in the north, they just tape it, they would imbalance it in the favor of Unalaq.
And maybe.
I mean,
I-
this show, like, is Asian inspired. We know it's
Yeah.
not actual anime in the most literal definition, but it's still gonna, like, the yin yang idea is still a very
balance is
prominent
the
thing.
central
Yeah.
element of
I
the show,
wanted to
pretty
see the
much.
fish.
I could be
What do you mean the fish?
Remember the fish?
from
The yin
moon
yang
fish?
fish?
Oh,
And Yue?
yeah.
I want to see Yue again.
Maybe we will.
maybe she'll be in the spirit world.
Maybe.
I could be completely wrong, but
What?
I feel like maybe the spirits are angry at Unalaq. And maybe Unalaq
Well,
is just trying
technically
to...
they are, because remember, he caused the mercenaries to go in the forest knowing that his brother would destroy them, causing the spirits to come attack the north. That was
Yeah.
all Unalaq's plan, to take over the
They
north, pretty
can't
much.
be too angry because he walked out of the spirit world perfectly fine at the beginning of the 5th episode.
Well, or
But
he knows how to
maybe
defend himself there.
Either he knows how to defend himself or he has in with one of the spirits.
And then but that makes him like either partners or the puppet of a spirit, and then this is just that spirit's plan to like invade the real world.
Maybe
or
it is.
I
something.
don't know. Yeah,
Who
there's
knows?
so many because also there could be different factions of spirits,
There could be.
which I
wanna
think
see
there
the
are.
Panda.
We had not
I-
seen that much about that.
I know everyone hates him, but I want to see the face.
Ko.
Ko is
Oh.
creepy.
I want to see
He
him
is.
too.
I love it.
Oh.
He's creepy and I'm
no.
mad at him.
I don't know if we'll see him in this season specifically, but I mean, it is the Spirit World season, so it seems like they'd be crazy not to, because he was such a cool character.
Wait, is this the same Fire Temple Island that got like destroyed?
No idea. It could be any
Because if it
Fire
is,
Temple
then they
Island.
rebuilt it. Then she can meet Roku, and it'll be great.
Well, I will admit when Iroh said my mother and grandfather have always been good friends with the Avatar and the South Pole, go to them, which I find it kind of ironic that now the Avatar's best friend is the Fire Nation, when in Angstheim was opposite. But the idea, like, he specifically said grandfather, so if we don't see old Zuko, I'm gonna be really mad because I want to see him so bad.
For all
Oh my
those
god, me too.
for all those Zuko Katara shippers, I love the idea
Oh,
that now that Aang is dead
No,
and
no,
Zuko's
stop.
old as shit, maybe it's a
No.
thing.
He's
Maybe
gonna
just
be
some
with
old people
May.
love. Just
Stop.
like
He will be with May forever.
Yeah.
What if she's,
Stop that! Do not revive this, please.
Nope. No.
I do it to keep his Andrew's girlfriend happy.
she's a
Oh,
big
God.
Zatara
Here
shipper.
right now.
Okay.
Can I also say I loved in episode 4 the what were they called? The little Sky Bison babies. They were called Blueberry Spice Head, Princess Rainbow, Twinkle Star Child, and Juniper Lightning Bug. I have it written down
They're
here.
adorable.
I want one. Mr. Schmitz, get me one.
I'll go make one.
Okay, thanks.
Can I live with them? Can they be my family?
Yeah.
I love that their heads are just so big they can't even stay upright.
Yeah, because I loved in the episode how Tenzin and Ikki were both like, there are my new brother and sister. And Tenzin was like, oh, can they be my new brother and sister too? Which was an adorable little scene. And in the end,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, but family's there for you even when bad things happen to you.
Which
It's
is
like,
good.
aw.
See, I thought Tenzin was being like coy and was going to use this as a way to sort of teach his daughter a lesson.
Nope.
And then I'm just like, oh, you're really just like an immature child, and she's going to teach you the lesson. Oh, that's good. Glad that you're teaching, the savior of the
They
world
were in the
and
same
whatnot.
boat. Both of their siblings were being rather mean to them, and
But
they were
one
both
of them is an
irrational.
adult, and I expect him to like.
But it was
be capable
adorable.
of deep thought.
It was
Still,
adorable.
like he was dealing with like the multitudes of like their like stress are like with them are just
On different
levels.
levels.
Like with Tenzin, the stress of having his father's flaws pointed out to him, his siblings' pent up aggression towards him, it's the same in his eyes as Ikki being teased by Jinora and Milo. It's like the same feelings, but in different magnitudes of maturity. So
Which-
they're both feeling the same like levels of just betrayal and like just
Sadness.
sad.
Yeah, which I find interesting because we haven't really seen Jinora be mean, really. Like, at least on screen. She's usually been the most calm and wise of the kids.
And I'm really interested in what her storyline is going to be with
Oh,
that
yeah.
crazy dream she had. And they've been staying
It's in
away
the
from it for
trailers.
so long, and I'm like, God dang it, I want
I
to
thought it was
see.
gonna happen when she went and like saw Aang's statue, or like no, the first one, the first Avatar, and when she saw Aang.
Yeah.
But she was sleepwalking and ends up right in front of him. It's like, wait, who's this? And
Wait.
then it's like, spirit world.
Wasn't there a statue that was broken or cracked or something?
I think Juan's statue was broken somehow because I don't know. I
thought that was
I recall there-
Someone's statue.
I thought that was supposed to be like the first Avatar.
Well, that Juan is
Yeah.
the first
Yeah.
Avatar.
Yeah, so then we don't know who that is and what that
Or
story
we're
is.
not, so we're not supposed to know yet.
and we know that
and
that's a
then-
plot point
Okay.
that
And
will.
still, I was hoping
That's
maybe he would like
tomorrow.
appear in her dreams, and
it?
she'd be like, I
Yeah.
have to tell Korra this.
And then that would unite those two storylines and make this a little less convoluted.
A little bit.
Yeah.
And
This
then-
show's trying really hard to prove that it's not it doesn't have to be a kids show because it's got like an in-depth
They
story.
established
and
that
characters.
the first
They're
season.
different
They're
plot
doing
lines.
they're doing multiple storylines very well, though. I will admit
It
that.
is very good.
Yeah,
Except
no,
for Korra's.
they've
Yeah.
they've done a good job balancing Tenzin's story with their story because also you had episode 5 with Milo training Pokey the lemur.
You
That's
could say
adorable.
he
Done.
was a Poke trainer.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Get out
It's
of
like
here.
Pokemon.
Get
Kenny
out.
would be
There's the
proud.
door over there.
I'm so
Leave.
happy.
But the part
out.
the part I liked the most of that was
Get out. Get out.
when Milo was like, it's lonely being the alpha lemur, and Tenzin was like, I know, because like he's
That
the
was
one.
so sad.
I know. It's like that's been him, the strict leader guy.
I've
who has
created
to,
a monster. That
Yes.
made me laugh so hard.
What have I done? So that was their cute little moment going on with Tenzin and his kids.
My favorite thing out of all of Korra so far, though, is finally Bolin sticking up for himself. That-
Exactly.
I know
Well,
he's being a jerk, and we'll get
No,
to that.
He
but
deserves to.
but I
He earned it.
love that he's actually just not being the punching bag anymore. You know?
Because I was feeling like he was being a little spineless with Eska, like how he was just getting abused and not, fighting back at all, And he still doesn't seem to want to fight back to her yet. I think we'll eventually get to that. But yeah, the fact that he is being a little sarcastic and, mean to Mako, because Mako's been a little mean to him,
A little.
A little
Well,
sarcastic and mean.
to be fair, Mako, like I said before on the last podcast, in season 1, episode 3, when Bolin gets kidnapped by the Equalist and Mako goes and tries to save him, that shows Mako's very much the older, protective brother who really cares about Bolin, wants to protect him. You saw that a lot in those little web comics with the two of them, which I like a lot about his character.
Yeah, well, I liked that in season 1, but then in season 2, that was thrown out the window. Like they weren't really close brotherly anymore.
They haven't been.
It
At
was,
all.
yeah, it wasn't shown at all. But then, of course, when everyone's doing their own thing, and Bolin literally has nothing to do. He doesn't have a job there. He doesn't want to go back to pro bending because
They suck.
They suck, and it's not his old team because they're not all friends. So he's literally like, "Well, guys, what do I do?" And Mako just goes, "I don't know, figure it out, Bolin."
But then he throws it back at us.
Yeah,
back
that
at
was my
Mako's
favorite
face.
part. It was
And
like,
hey,
I don't know,
have that.
figure it out, Mako. Ooh, isn't that what you said to me? Hurts, doesn't it?
And I love that he flat out says, I'm spiting you. Note that I'm spiting you. Because I kind of get annoyed when characters get catty and they're like, I'm spiting you, but I won't admit it. No, he's
Like
like, no,
subtweeting.
see what you did? That was wrong, and I'm going to kick your ass for it.
I make fun of you for it.
Yep.
Yeah. And I know. I like that Bolin's doing that. Although to Mako's credit, what Mako's asking him to do is like do this thing to help me, solve this crime, that is really important to what's going on right now. Whereas Bolin's like, I gotta be an actor.
But still, Bolin's been trying to get him to do pro bending stuff and like asking him for advice, and Mako shut him down every single time.
Like, remember when he walks in and like I think it was episode 5 when he walks in, he's like, "Hey, so like I've had this like really crappy day, bro. Can you help me?" "No, shut up, Bolin. I have to like focus on this like thing."
Yeah, like when someone shuts you down enough, you just kind of
get pissed.
You get annoyed, and you're kind of like, okay, well, fine. If you don't want to be my friend, if you don't want to do that, then okay, fine with me. And so, and it probably hurts even more for Bolin because it's not just that he was his friend, but they're brothers.
Right.
So
and
now
he's always been like pale in comparison to Mako, so he feels like.
Yeah.
Like, people have always been like, oh, Mako, 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 Mako. And he's always like, hey, guys, I'm here, too.
Right. And I love what you said, Peter, when Bolin was saying, like, I am an actor. My instrument is my body or whatever. And then as Mako's leaving, he, like, fire bends his hot pole. He's like, my instrument.
Yes.
That was a great line.
Bolin is
Speaking
the
of his
cutest.
instrument, something that we noticed for the first time in this episode, the most recent episode, is he's ripped.
Of course,
You don't
yeah.
notice
No,
it because he
I've
wears
had-
very baggy clothing. He's ripped and really hot.
Okay,
Yeah.
no, people are always like,
It's
Bolin's
scary.
fat. I'm like, no, that is muscle. That is not like
he's a wall.
bodybuilding
Now you
muscle.
know.
That
He's
is
a wall.
actual like training muscle. Like, there's a difference between bodybuilders and people who are actually physically strong. Like, the bodybuilders, we have like the tiny waist, obscenely fat arms, just full of
Can't move
muscles
their
on
necks.
muscles on muscles. You cannot move your neck. You cannot scratch your head because of how many muscles you have. That's not legit muscle. You can't lift things with that. You can try real hard and you'll get further than the normal person, but real muscle is bulkier. It doesn't show up until you need it, and that's what Bolin has. He's been pro bending. He's an earth bender that's very tough. And it, like, finally I'm just like, look at him. Look my
at his
precious
glory.
baby.
Yes. Well, I love how he's this whole Nuktuk thing. It's very much like the old like serials from the 1920s, sort of. Like Buck
so
Rogers or
cute.
something.
Nook
Andrew, you pointed out
terrible.
which ones they specifically were.
I believe it is a combination between Flash Gordon, the Lone Ranger, and Conan the Barbarian.
I just
Yes.
just
Andrew knows.
Nuktuk
got this.
or no, not Nuktuk. The whatever the name is of the
The show.
the polar
polar
bear
bear dog?
the,
Wait,
the,
no.
the polar
Snow
dog.
panda.
This or
Snowman.
because I laughed so hard when he was like Nook Tuckity, and then later he was like Nook
Nook
terrible. Like,
Poor Naga. She's probably like, guys, help.
why am I doing this?
Why am I
Why-
painted?
This torture.
I bet they pay her in peanut butter.
I know.
I
Well,
hope so.
if I had to choose, like, as far as like role for Bolin to go into, as a famous actor, that's like, I love the fact that they're going in that direction.
He's not a
Yeah.
bad actor either.
Yeah, for the time.
You know,
For the time.
he's a good kids actor.
Yeah.
He's very cheesy, and it works.
And I also like, this is another sort of like filmy reference, like how, when they first showed the first mover, it was like that ostrich running as a reference to the horse running. That was the first thing ever shot on film in real life. The fact that whatever her name is, Ginger, she's really pretty, but then she has this really kind of crappy sounding voice.
I hate
that's,
her voice.
That's true of a lot of silent stars back in the early days of Hollywood because, like, you just needed to be a face, so you didn't have to talk, So I like that that's like an actual thing that they brought back.
I like the subtle jab at modern movies where Bolin decides to kiss Ginger. And Varric says, wait, why would that be the good idea? What made you think that was a good idea? Your girlfriend's about to die and you kiss her? Wait, no, that's perfect.
That's genius.
Like, it says something about, like, they're making a jab there. They're saying that sort of stuff is so stupid that Varric thinks it's a good idea.
It's a jab at the partially at the film industry, but also I think it's partially just showing, even though Bolin is kind of almost an airhead at times, he knows what to do with people just naturally. Partially because remember when he was back doing the interview and he would talk and he's just kind of awkward in the way like the information
Like,
he was
yeah,
just giving.
and I got engaged to a princess, and then we broke up.
And it was
everyone
really
was like,
sad.
"Wah."
And I cried myself to sleep every now and then. And the crowd was like, what? And then he goes, but you know what? I still love my fans. Can I hear it from me? Yeah, thanks. And everyone was like freaked out. And he's like, yeah, whenever I don't know what to say, I always just say either I always
Republic City
or the
fans.
Yeah. It's like, at least he's honest.
Yep.
Something I just thought of that we have to talk about was probably my favorite part of episode 4. You know, you get what's his name, Boomy, talking to the statue of Aang, and then Kaya comes in and they're sort of making up, and then you see the family photo with Aang and the kids when they were all little, and it was like, oh, it's so adorable.
Yeah.
And I think that was the first time we saw an official drawing of younger Katara, like 40s
I've been
Katara.
waiting for that. You don't even understand.
Yeah.
We've seen everyone but her. Now
Well,
we've seen her.
but we haven't
True.
seen Zuko or like Suki.
Well, I mean, like of the original Avatar
yeah.
quad.
cast. Yeah, I suppose so.
Oh yeah. She is the only one we haven't seen yet.
I'm kind of curious as to where all the other bison came from.
They
found them.
Yeah, apparently Aang found a secret island of a sky bison. That
Okay,
was
fair enough.
supplemental material. One thing I want to clarify real quick. Last episode we did on Korra, I kept on calling it the United Federation of Nations. This thing where Republic City is. It's actually called the United Republic of Nations. So I was wrong about that. And I clarified what exactly United Force is in. It's or what they are, basically. It is just the military of the United Republic of Nations, which is made up of people from all 4 nations. Because last episode we were speculating on like if the United Forces was like the military of the world, like all the people were part of this thing. It's really just that area.
It's just a separate nation that's supposed to sort of represent the 4 nations uniting, is my understanding.
Yeah, it's welcome to all 4 nations.
Is it the United Nations basically equivalent of?
But United Nations is, members of like all the countries of the world. This is just like the people of all 4 worlds coming together. I see Republic City sort of as like a New York, like where cultures of all areas mixed together.
It's a
and
neutral
come together.
ground.
It's a nation that Aang made to be sort of symbolic for, this new age of peace. And if you look deep down at it, it just doesn't work, because there's talk about like how presidents would work if there was a war going on. Which nation do you side with, the most populous one or the one with the most like population in the city? And it's a weird thing, but I like the idea of it.
Right.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
We were bringing up things like, okay, so with this South versus North,
Right.
and if this becomes a war, like a legitimate war.
Well, it already is a war.
Yeah, but like, if they were if the president decided to like, okay, I'm gonna side with the South and I'm gonna send troops. But since this is made up of since there are only like 5 nations in the world, technically.
Oh, I guess, yeah.
Like, if you count the North and South as 2 separate nations, and the air temples don't really count as nations.
No.
So, if there's 5 separate nations, what happens to the northern troops that are part of the United Force? How does that work? Do they continue? Do they fight their brothers?
On either the way I see it is they keep fighting because they care more about the military than their ties, or some of them will just quit.
Yeah, it's one or the other.
But
Then, does the president just side with the nation that has the highest population in his city? Does he just side with the North because there are more Northern Water Tribe members of his?
I don't think so.
population?
I think he would. I don't think the way the president looks at it as siding with a certain populace or nation. I think he just looks at it as what is best for everyone. I would hope that's how he looks at
But
it.
he's
That's not
already
how
a
it
corrupt politician. He's already a corrupt politician. So
we-
is he just going to go for the voter
we don't
base?
know that he's corrupt yet.
If-
He could
pretty
be.
sure.
If he's not corrupt, he's doing what's best for Republic City.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
if he is
'Cause
corrupt,
everything
then
he's
obviously
said so far is neutral.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously, if he is corrupt, then he's going to do whatever Varric tells him. But otherwise, I think he's just trying to do what's best for Republic City.
Because
Right.
he turns down Korra's request to get troops. He shuts down Iroh because he's like, no, you're under my command, and I don't want this to become a thing.
Right.
No. If it's because of Varric or not, it looks
Probably
like it's
because of
not because he's doing what's best for Republic City.
That would make Varric a lot more threatening of a villain if he's even got the president of Republic City, who's supposed to be this non-bender, this new president, this new leader. If he's got even him under his thumb, that would be interesting.
Well, I mean, okay, so they were trying to talk to Iroh, right?
Right.
And they're like, okay, Iroh, we want you to basically violate everything that your job stands for and help us. And Iroh's like,
Sure.
maybe, yeah. I
he
could
was
do that."
pretty okay
And
with
then
the idea. It
The
was
president
surprising.
just shows up like at that exact moment, and it's been alluded to. It was alluded to at that point that like maybe somebody was feeding him. Like,
Well, no, Mako
It
told
was
him.
Mako.
yeah, that's right.
Yep.
I forgot about that. But like, I still feel like Varric knew that, like, because Varric's been in on the whole thing, right?
It's a possibility. I
Like,
don't know.
I think that I would love that if just Varric has just been like on top of everything.
Wait,
I
didn't
can't wait to
Korra
find out
say
just how
that?
deep this runs.
Sorry, what did you say,
Didn't
Clara?
Korra say to? I'm trying to remember who she was talking to about meeting with Iroh.
She talked to
Bolin.
Bolin about it, and then Bolin talked about it to Mako, and
Right.
Mako eventually blabbed about it to the
So
president.
Varric didn't know about that at all.
No, because he was in the meeting with the president. Remember, Varric got Korra the meeting, and he was with Korra in that meeting.
No,
so
before when she was like, I'm gonna talk to Iroh.
no, she was thought because they were having their brainstorming session with Asami, Korra,
Right.
and Varric,
So Varric
and
did know.
that's where they
Okay.
came
I
up
was
with
trying
that
to
idea.
remember
that
who
was
was
Varric's
actually there.
idea to go talk to Iroh.
And go over his head.
It might have been actually. I don't remember.
Because remember, he was the brainstorming session. It's like, oh, we don't need the president. You should just go straight to the military because they like fighting.
Oh yeah.
It
you're
was
right.
Varric's idea.
Which makes it less likely that he told the president to make it not happen.
No, I
Yeah,
mean,
because Iroh going with Korra would have caused more like chaos, and messed things up more, which seems to be sort of what Varric's going for right now, like added confusion, more
Well, then-
war, more money.
well, then that proves that the president isn't working for Varric because then the
Yeah.
president is stopping that unless Varric doesn't want it to happen and he just told her just
But-
to like.
but let's be
Varric's
honest,
being
this is
a
this is
super
going in
mastermind.
This is going in circles.
That's not to say that he couldn't try and hold power over him later in the series, though.
Yeah.
Everything
That's
is
true.
so unanswered.
Well, that's
I-
because we're 6 episodes into a 14 episode season, so yeah, we're not even halfway.
Wait.
I know it's gonna be awesome.
Oh, it's so cool. I suppose going on that, like, okay, so we've obviously been talking about Korra a lot, and what we think of her, because episode 5 is really where everything comes to a head with that. And I actually, like I've said, I've been defending Korra quite a bit throughout all this. The one thing that she said that is, I can't find any defense for it, is when Mako tells her after the thing was bombed, like, oh, I saw these firebenders going off. It wasn't the North, it was someone else. And she's like, no, it had to be the North. Who else would have been but the North? It was the North. And she just completely shuts down the idea that it was someone else. That made me mad.
That
So that's
and
just
the
like,
fact that Bei Fong is totally just dissing everything Mako's ever done ever. Like, she compliments him saying, yeah, Bei Fong, like, you hear Mako saying that Bei Fong thinks he's great, he's doing all this stuff. And then it's like he comes in, everyone's like, rookie. And even Bei Fong's like, Mako, you're not a detective. GTFO.
right. Well, to be fair, I think he rose through the ranks pretty quickly and was obviously doing a good job as a policeman. But I think it was like, I don't know, I remember if it's Peter or Andrew was saying before the podcast, he just barges in there during her interrogation, which is not what you're supposed to do. Like he's acting a little bit too big for his britches there. Or when the
But he
mustache.
also didn't know.
No, he knew about in the interrogation thing. He knew about it. He was
Right, but
watching
beforehand.
it before the mustache guys got him to go in there, knowing that Lin Beifong would chew him out for it. That was him being manipulated. To be fair, but we got all that with Korra, and then she and Mako have that argument inside their apartment. Where Mako's basically like, I'm basically standing by his job, and Korra's like, why aren't you siding with me, blah 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 blah, and I thought it was interesting where the president was in, because the president was like talking to Lin, like, you got to find the people who bombed this thing, this is really important, blah blah blah, and he talks to Mako and is like pressuring him, like, do you know anything about what the Avatar is planning? Remember, you signed an oath, you have an oath to the leader of the city, and Mako just says wait, as he's walking away. So
Pretty sure everyone knows that Mako's dating Korra.
well, yeah, that's true.
So they're like, well, even if it's your GF, you gotta tell me.
right, because I don't know.
Mako hesitated. He was like, no, averts eye contact.
Right, looked suspicious.
He's like, well, you obviously do know something, so just remember, you took an oath, and I'm a leave now.
yeah, because see, that's what I like. When I'm talking about as far as both of them having good arguments. With Korra, her Unalaq's obviously evil. She needs to go save her family. She needs to find these forces, and she feels like Mako definitely isn't helping her with that, and in fact, in the end, betrays her basically by blabbing her secret to the president and stopping this thing from happening.
Same time, I wanted him to say.
At the same time, Mako is, basically having to choose between his job and his responsibility and doing what's right, versus, siding with Korra, his friend and everything, and he ends up choosing his job over her.
Well, it's not
But I did talk about this earlier, though. I think part of it was for Korra's sake. Because if Korra went through with this, it would have made her job a whole lot harder, and it would have blown up in her face. I think that's what Mako was thinking as well. So he wanted to stop her before any of it started.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, her whole plan to go with Iroh to stop, the South probably would have worked short term, but in long term probably would have had big repercussions because you're not supposed to go behind the commander-in-chief's back to do a military action.
It's also worth noting that he's not just choosing his job. He honestly believes that what he's doing is right. He's choosing his morals over his girlfriend, which I kind of feel like is the better choice. But
right, but then as I pointed out,
because she's emotionally unstable.
Right, but then in the next episode, he goes behind the chief's back and does something immoral by going with the triple threats.
That's the only reason why I like the idea that he cares about Korra more. Because if you do go with a moral standpoint, I agreed with you when that happened. But then because the next episode, he goes against it almost right away.
He does. He's sort of hesitant about it, but then he goes for it
He was hesitant for a total of 3 seconds. And then he was like, okay, no, but I'll help you.
Right. So, and then we got the breakup scene, which it's interesting because at end of season 1, I did not like Mako Korra at all. And
they punched us in the face with it.
And then with episode 5, I honestly didn't know what to feel. On the one hand, I still wasn't a huge fan of the Mako Korra thing, but over the course of time, Mako had become better, and I actually started to like it a little bit more. I liked it when they hugged in episode 2, But then, so I liked it, but at the same time, I sort of didn't. So I didn't really know if I was happy or sad that they broke up. I don't know. What did you guys think of that?
The ship sank.
I was.
So Claire was happy.
Yeah, I was happy. And before I was happy, I would have been happy about it because I didn't like Mako. Now I'm happy because partially Korra's been knocked down and ranked in my head as a favorite character. But also because I think that their relationship was very toxic, They always got in little fights, and they made up, but it would get worse,
Yep. I don't know. What did you guys think?
I personally liked it just because I did not find a single plotline involving their relationship interesting or pleasurable to watch. I just was always like, okay, let's get over this pointless fight where neither of them are making very interesting points, and get over to Bolin saying something funny to Eska, who is just Tharsha from Fire Emblem 3D. Or can we talk to the guy who's evil but also making some really interesting points, and what if he's not evil? And early season, that's all I was thinking. It was you are the least interesting storyline. Can it just end?
See, but I sort of disagree because when we talked about within the podcast on episodes 1 and 2, I like the idea of Mako having to deal with being the Avatar's, boyfriend, and dealing with the idea Korra asks him these questions and he's like, I don't know, do what you want. I don't have the experience, I don't really know the situation. I don't know the spirit world or water nation politics, so you do what you feel is right. I'm going to support you either way. I like that element.
See, I hated that because I'm 3 times she asks him what do you think I should do? I don't know. Do whatever you want. I'm well, gee, thank you for being super helpful.
The thing is, though, every time he tried to offer something, she's like, no, that's terrible. Why would you suggest it? You're going up against me. Rah.
Right.
Tantrum.
Yeah.
Well, and the way I justified it, though, because in episode 1, he says, oh, your father's probably just looking out for you. But then later on in that episode, we learn, oh, wait, your father, kept you locked up in this compound and lied to you about it for all these years. So
right,
it's
but it was something that probably would have just what's the word I'm looking for? Halted her training. This was all to protect her. And
it was to protect her, but it
was bad that they sheltered her, yes, but the thing is, it wasn't because they wanted to shelter her, it was because he cared about her.
It was coming from a good place, but
it was wrong.
It was wrong because when the first episode of the book 1, when she got to Republic City, she was clueless. She's very naive about the outside world.
She wasn't even supposed to be there in the first place. That's a problem.
Oh, I know, but the point is, Aang, got to travel all over the world and see all these cultures and do all these adventures. Korra was locked up in this single place. I understand why she was mad about
had
that.
No manners.
And the fact that they lied to her about it, said Aang wanted this for you, this was his decision or whatever, and it turns out, oh no, actually the White Lotus and your father actually were the ones that decided this for you because they thought it was what was best for you.
I'm kind of sad the White Lotus was turned out to be like the bad guys, because it was always like Iroh and the old guys, and they were super cool, and all of a sudden there just a bunch of sticks in the mud now.
I don't think they're necessarily bad guys.
Well, they're not bad,
they were
they're
just
just
doing what they thought was
meh.
right. That's all.
Right.
They aren't the epicness
And,
that was
and
Iroh.
let's be honest, right and wrong is kind of a gray area.
Subjective. Yeah, which I also like in that I feel like Korra is right to say, like, I don't want these, restrictions put on me, I want to be free, blah, 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 normal teenager thing to say. But also, she is a fully fledged avatar now, she can control the avatar state. She knows all 4 elements. So she really needs to start becoming the balance in the world, making these decisions for herself, solving problems in the world, like that's her duty. And I think this whole flashback thing that she's going to do, talking with her past avatars and with Juan and everything, is going to help her understand her role as the avatar a lot more.
That's why I'm so excited for tomorrow.
But I mean, like, even when Aang was debating with his past avatar selves, and they were all like, we had to make tough decisions too, and we learned from our mistakes, so now take our knowledge and kill the Fire Lord. And he's like, but I don't want to kill the Fire Lord. But he gets past that and finds something he can do instead that'll bring him down and stop killing. So I feel like Korra's going to go through something similar, I hope, where she meets her past selves and they're just like, this is what you're doing wrong. It'll be like a whole like Christmas story thing where Scrooge sees all his past, present, future, and all his mistakes and what his future will be if he keeps doing the bad stuff. And she's going to be like, I was a big butthead. I need to change myself.
Yeah, I feel like we are going to get that because I remember specifically from the trailer, there's a scene of her talking with Tenzin, and she's like, I need your help now more than ever. And he says, like, I won't let you down, or something like that. So we are going to get to that point, And
Hope so.
And see, like I said, they know that they've been writing Korra to be a little unlikable and a little more, iffy whether she's right or wrong in these situations.
She is like Scrooge.
She's not Scrooge, okay?
She's getting
She's not
there.
Scrooge.
She's not evil.
Did you hear all the defenses I was giving for the reasons why she's like doing all these things? She's got good reasons for what she's doing.
Some of it.
Hold on. I completely agree with you that she does have good reasons, but she's going about it wrong. I think that's the reason why everyone's so annoyed. It's like, yeah, I get why you're upset, but the fact that you're lashing out at literally everyone, that's the
Without
only
provocation.
thing. Yeah, that's the only thing.
We've actually got a bit of a nut job theory
Oh,
as
God,
to why
the
she was
crazy
locked
theory.
up.
We got
And I'm going to
crazy
let
theories.
Andrews tell it because he thought of it and he also doesn't talk enough.
Okay.
Oh.
I'm totally talking about
You do not.
I do too. Now, crazy theory about this. Okay.
Headcanon.
The White Lotus, it seems like the White Lotus and maybe Tenzin partially kind of, if he might even be a member. That hasn't been confirmed, but I could see it. Like, I
Maybe.
could buy that. Like, if he was just a card carrying member. I guess they carry cards now.
They carry tokens.
Yeah. Pie show.
Paijo Tiles. So we think that they kept her hidden for something. Like that there were like the White Lotus like recognized like this like there's this threat
There's an event coming.
that will happen soon. Like not like super soon, but like 20 years from now. Like Aang died prematurely. So something killed him.
Well, they've said that because he was frozen in a block of ice for 100 years, it took tolls on his body. He died in like his 60s. So he died a natural death, I think, but it was
just
part-
early.
Yeah, it was
Yeah, but,
because
like-
of the iceberg thing.
It was
but
before he was
that could be
supposed
easily
to.
retconned out like right now. So
Maybe, but I like that idea.
I like that idea, but like I've
Oh.
seen stories that like, oh yeah, he didn't really die like that.
Oh,
Like,
I don't know. If Aang died by like murder or something dark like that, like then it would be like, okay, Korra, listen, there's this bad thing coming, and that's why we keep you locked up. Like I feel like if they had a justification for it, Tanrak, Korra's dad, would have said so when she got all pissed at him about it, but he didn't offer any defense.
It's possible that they didn't tell him. That they kept it from her dad.
I mean, Tanrak isn't part of the White Lotus,
so
but it is possible.
they'd probably just told him, we think it's best that we keep her locked up so that you can be a family. And he's like, yeah, I like that idea. That's a good idea.
Why in the world would they keep that secret from so many people if that's such a big deal?
Because if it's like, because they were waiting for her to be ready.
Because
Also,
plot.
She's so headstrong.
that, and also
She would just try and, I
like,
want to
this
kill
is-
it now.
This is me trying to go along with your plot. If the world knew about this huge threat that managed to kill the Avatar, there would be panic.
Things would be bad.
Yeah.
And it might not, like, I think it might be something like cyclical. Like, every X years this happens. And, like, because I was trying to think, like, okay, so now that they have 3 seasons after this, like they're
Two
going
seasons
for
after
2
this.
seasons after this,
Yeah.
they need some overarching conflict, right? To come out of what we have so far. Like, or else it just kind of feels separate.
Yeah, I agree, because I really hope that each season is not its own plot.
And I wonder if there's like something like with the spirit world that like is like some dark threat is coming from that, and they kept her locked away because they didn't want her to get like to know and to go out into the world and like
get corrupted by politicians and whatnot.
And
They needed
so-
to make sure she was a purely avatar.
Clean
Just
slate.
I am unbiased and this is my job. This is what I do.
and
I'm good at
it's
it.
possible that like they were scared that if she traveled the world, she might interact with the spirit world and like this dark threat in the spirit world in some way that could have corrupted her or like influenced her in some way that would be bad. And they wanted to make sure she was ready and calm and level-headed and prepared for this because she's so headstrong
Oopsie.
and passionate about everything.
See,
and
yeah.
that's not a good thing for her to be.
I would say I don't think that the White Lotus or Tonrock's dead or anything like that. Like they knew about this like thing, and that's why they kept her locked up. But I do think it very well could be that that's the exciting thing that we've got 3 more seasons. Book 2 could end on a giant cliffhanger with like
I'm
there's
hoping
some
it
big
does.
overarching threat that's gonna destroy the world that Korra's got to have to deal with in seasons 3 and 4. That could totally be a thing.
But like we were trying to justify why they would do that.
And
Like,
that's all we could really
there
come
is
up
no
with.
real justification for just keeping her locked up in a compound other than that they were scared of politics.
Yeah, I don't know.
See, the thing that I don't get with Korra, like, I understand, like, she wants freedom, she wants to be the Avatar, and that's great. Aang was kept in a pretty much similar situation his whole life, living with monks, being very strict, regimented, just spiritual training, and
But that
all
was
that.
only for his air training.
Right,
Yeah.
but the thing is, like, he grew up in a very similar environment and didn't become a gigantic spoiled brat.
Well, but
But-
that's because he grew up with the monks.
right, but I'm hoping
but-
it was a similar peaceful environment, and then she's
The-
all like, I'm be obnoxious.
The only thing that I will defend Korra with on this is the fact that Aang was locked up like that for what
11 years.
a
Yeah, he was
10, 11
nurtured
years.
that way.
Korra is like at least 16.
Yeah.
She's older, so she was basically locked up even longer than
Yeah,
Aang.
she was
so,
locked up.
and
Still.
Aang enjoyed that lifestyle. Korra
Right.
obviously never liked that lifestyle,
Yeah.
which
Which
is
I'm
another
wondering, like-
which is another foil to Aang.
Also, to add to my theory, Aang was locked in there for like 11 years just to learn airbending and spirit. Like they didn't even bother like teaching him the rest of the element. They're like, "Oh, we'll do that later." Like when he grows
Because
up.
they didn't know everything was going
But
to happen.
They really pushed her learning this stuff like
Like,
quickly.
she had to learn
Like
it
there was like an urgency
Like
to
even
her
when she was a
learning this,
kid,
even
though, she
in a
was
time
ridiculous.
of
Like
peace.
they had no, like from what I've seen, they've had no training with her, like being meditative. She had no idea how to airbend.
Well,
Apparently
she
that
was
was-
just a natural.
that's
Right. The thing is, though, it's a difference. Like even when she's airbending, she's not airbending. She's punching. She's
Yeah.
kicking. That's not
Well,
airbending,
no,
and
just
it kills me.
we've seen her though do like that move that like Aang does in the opening where he like spins on his head,
That's
kicks his
the
legs.
one thing besides like sitting on the ball. But even when she's like, "Look, Tenzin, I can airbend," she starts punching the air.
All
Those
of-
are not airbending moves.
All of her airbending moves are very aggressive, and that's not
That's
really what
not what
airbending
it
is at the
is.
core. So I can see the whole plot point of her going back with Tenzin and learning what airbending really is about.
which is
at
what he
its
was
core.
trying to tell her in the first place.
And what really interests me is when she first woke up with her amnesia, she did a very airbendy thing with the spinning around. and-
She airbended them
and
away.
that was the first thing she did. Instead, she didn't waterbend, which was her, natural impulse. She didn't firebend, which she just seemed super fond of. She didn't smash them with rocks. She used airbending, and I'm wondering. I thought it'd be interesting if she just forgot all the other bending.
Which is
and,
That was
contrived
the
and
threat
it's
for the
stupid,
contrived
and
and
I hate
stupid,
that.
but
Well,
it would be
And-
interesting.
and
I'd be interested.
What I think is interesting is that airbending, Aang used airbending to generally get away from people.
Yeah.
So I think that might be part of her past life, or just maybe what airbending is. Just
It is a very
motivation.
peaceful.
it's a way to get people away from you without hurting them. Because
It
if
is-
she had used firebending, she could have just burned them all by accident.
Right.
So-
It is a very peaceful like form of it. Like
And
form
she
of bending.
said, "Get away from me." So she wasn't trying to hurt them. She was just more like, "I don't know what's going on. I don't want you to hurt me.
Yeah.
Go away."
I do think. Oh, go ahead, Mr. Schmitz.
Okay. As far as the whole thing with Korra, and talk about her past and everything. What's interesting about her, remember the reason that they found out Aang was the Avatar was because he played with all that big pile of toys, and he played with the 3 that corresponded to like the past Avatar's toys. That's how they knew. But he didn't know firebending. As a little kid, he just knew airbending. Whereas Korra, when she was little, could already bend water, fire, and earth. So I think she is actually kind of unique in that way, and I think that's part of the reason why she got mastered those 3 within 17 years. And on the topic of the sorry, I'm just trying to compile all the thoughts of everything that's just been said. I get that they would lock her away in this compound while she was young, because people might try to come and kill her, when she's young, because she's the Avatar and she's defenseless. Okay, that makes sense. When you get to be 15, 16, never being allowed to go outside of this small area, that's a little weird. That's where it starts to get me. The fact that she's 17 and she's never been outside of the South Pole. That's a little weird.
She knows all of 5 people in total.
Right.
Especially with the fact that everyone knows that Aang had done all this amazing traveling and helpfulness when he was 11.
The problem is the world hadn't been in turmoil,
Yeah, I understand.
so there's no reason for her to leave and be
But-
in danger.
But
Actually-
then that would be even better for her to start searching around and traveling, because if everything's peaceful, then she should at least
Yeah.
know all the cultures
Because
of the world
according
and
to
stuff.
That's what I was
remember
gonna say.
with Roku's backstory, he traveled the world for years, and with Aang, he had to learn all the elements really fast, so he did it all in a year. Roku took 10 or 20 years to learn everything. He traveled to these different nations, and trained with these people for years, and got to know the places before he was a real Avatar. So I think that's the way it's traditionally done. Korra is Aang was really different, obviously,
Well,
because
we've
of
only
extenuating
seen
circumstances.
we've only seen Roku and Aang though, and they were we don't know if maybe other avatars might have been born with other ones.
It's possible.
But it's weird how Korra just could not learn air. Maybe it's just something you have more difficulty learning something that's before you.
I think,
I don't know.
I
Yeah,
think part of it
that's
is
possible.
because she's so headstrong.
Yeah.
That airbending didn't really come naturally, because everything else can either do with be done with willpower or just physical strength, whereas airbending is all kind of
Control.
control,
Yeah.
and she has none
I
of
always
that.
saw that as the reason why she struggled so much with airbending in book 1 was because she was able to bend the other 3 so easily. They came so quickly to her, but then airbending is the polar opposite of her personality, and she was never able to bend it as a kid. That's why it eluded her for so long.
Which makes sense, because actually firebending was the hardest one for
It was
Aang.
actually earthbending.
earthbending.
Or was it? Oh, okay.
Earthbending was.
Yeah.
Actually, and that also
he
makes
didn't
sense.
want to do because it caused destruction. Earthbending was completely against what
Which is
he
what's kind of
was.
funny because, with that, airbending, he knew the airbending way, and earthbending is the opposite of that. Whereas with airbending, you jump away. Earthbending, you stand still like a rock and take it. Whereas
And he didn't do
if
that.
if Korra was a waterbender, then firebending would be the hardest thing for her. But fire is actually the element she uses the most in the show.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because it's the most aggressive.
Because, let's be honest, you can set people on fire, and she just really likes that concept.
She does.
Apparently.
We found it interesting that if they were so keen on teaching her all the things just as quick as possible, or she's so keen on learning all the things, why didn't she ever learn? I understand why she wouldn't learn blood bending because that's just evil and illegal.
Yeah, let's
why
not do
never
that.
learn metal bending?
I was about to be
that's just
is she gonna
incredibly
learn
useful.
that?
I don't know. I get the feeling like that's something Aang never learned metal bending.
But that's because it was invented
That's-
then.
And we don't
just
know that
then.
he never learned it eventually.
He probably did know
And
it
apparently
eventually.
it's a lot more common now.
Yeah,
Considering
like,
they have an
people know
entire
it.
police force
Well,
of metal benders.
because remember though, Toph formed a school, in Republic City, to train metal benders and stuff. That's a whole thing that she did in the comics. She founded this metal bending school. So I feel like if
That must be
if
really
Korra wanted to
expensive.
learn that, she would have had to go to that school, and then that's leaving the compound. It's oh no, let's not do that.
But,
But they could
I'm
just
hoping
hire a
something
teacher from
happened.
there.
They could have just brought one of the, they
I
brought
know.
her all the other teachers.
Basically, the way I think we're all coming to a conclusion of is just
Why not?
the people who were in charge of taking care of Korra
weren't the brightest bunch.
They
Did
were
a
just
bad
not
job.
very smart.
They were either did a bad job or, like my crazy theory is, they had some other motive.
And that's not
It's
even a very
it's
good
not
theory.
an evil motive, but like it's just a motive.
like I
It's the best
really
theory
I
we've
really
got.
don't want to
It's all
go
I've got.
with it's poor writing on their part.
Yeah.
But like it's either a writing thing they just looked over that we're just analyzing really hard on,
Well, we
Because
do
it's
that.
Or-
a flaw. And we do that.
or it might be a plot thing.
What I think it is basically like in the original show, Aang was mastered all the elements, but Toph was better at him than earthbending. Zuko was better at him than firebending. Katara was better at him than waterbending. I think they basically are keeping Korra from doing that so that Lin Beifong is a better earthbender than she is because she can do
But
earthbending
she's
and
also-
metal bending.
older. Like Korra is so young. Like she's not like fully mastering them yet. Like we never really see Aang like fully master any of the
Anything
things.
except maybe airbending.
Well, yeah.
Except airbending. But like in the flashbacks in the first season, we see Roku like use all when he fights Sozin, and he uses all 4 elements just to like beat him. Like, no, you're gonna stop this invading thing now.
But like we never even saw Roku. I assume he could, but we never saw Roku use lightning. I assume he could do that, but
That's
Probably.
another thing that
Especially
would make
since-
sense for Korra.
since
Yeah,
fire-
why does
That's
Korra
something I
know
wanted
that?
to bring up. I totally forgot about until now. Why didn't Mako use lightning to stop those guys? Why didn't he use lightning to stop the boats? Why, Mako? Why do
Because
you have
apparently
this
lightning
thing and you
just
don't use it? Why
takes
aren't you
a lot
useful?
more focus than just like fire.
Still, but I
Yeah.
mean, like he's been like we see him in the first season working using the lightning. Like
Yeah.
that's his
In those
job.
situations, he was always very still and rooted to the ground.
Whereas
Whereas he was on a boat moving very quickly.
Well, I
if
mean,
she made a sharp turn while he
He
was
also did that when Amon was like blood bending him. So
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
lot of strain also.
Yeah,
but
no.
he was
So
still rooted
no
to the
excuse,
ground.
Mako. You're the worst.
yeah, he just. They
He's
just
just
didn't
the
do
worst
it.
for that,
Didn't
like,
do
I
it.
was
That's-
expecting
But
lightning.
it makes
I
sense
didn't
though
get
that
it.
Korra can't do lightning because lightning requires like peace of mind
It
and
does.
everything, and Korra is not the best at that, obviously.
But somehow Azula mastered it. And
Girl
she was
needs-
just like,
Well,
she
she
was
was
also a
insane.
little bit of a prodigy.
What I
though.
don't understand with that, and I think this is kind of a plot hole with that whole concept, is that when they're doing the final battle, Azula's freaking
Love that
insane
fight.
at that
I
point,
love
and
that
she's
fight.
still able to do lightning. Like at that point, Zuko should be more likely to do lightning
She
than
was
she
really
could.
focused on the one goal that was just killing
Maybe
him.
because she's just done it forever.
I guess, yeah, she's got
At
experience.
that
Muscle
point, it's
memory.
probably
She was insane.
second nature.
Okay. So I think we've had a nice long discussion here on
Yes.
you know
we
these.
got on quite a few nice tangents.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's good. I like these side discussions we
They were
sometimes
all
have.
on topic though, which is really
Yeah.
Except
And
for
it's
the
it's
first-
impressive for us.
I guess real quick we'll go around. Summarize
Ow.
your thoughts on. Don't hurt yourself, Clara.
hit my knee.
Summarize your thoughts on episodes 3 through 6, and also what you anticipate or are looking forward to in these future episodes. For me, I know some people are not too happy with Korra Book 2, with the direction they've taken Korra and everything, but as I've said, I actually like the fact that it's more complex and like there's not one person who's necessarily right and who's necessarily wrong. Like you can see both sides of the argument. I like that they're going in that direction with the characters. I like the fact that they have so many different plot lines going on. It's more complex. I will say you do lose some focus because of it, because there isn't like a single goal to look forward to right now. That's a little bit of a ambling plot, like we're going in all these different directions, but I feel like we're getting to a point where everything's going to coalesce and like Varric and Unalaq and the Spear World are all going to come to a head in the near future. And I'm really looking forward to that because when it does, it's going to be really epic because they've had all this build up. So I'm really enjoying Korra. I'm really looking forward to the beginning part 1 and part 2 tomorrow with the first Avatar. It's going to be awesome. Clara.
I'm hoping that the whole Korra thing with visiting her past selves will happen on this island. I hope something similar does, anyways, because she's out of control and needs a reality check. I'm a little sad to see what's happening with Bolin right now because I don't want him to become full of himself and start supporting Varric because that will just make me so very sad. I'm sided with Mako for like the first time in my existence. I'm so scared. Poor Asami. Oh my god. This poor girl. She cannot get a break. Beifong I'm a little disappointed in. I want to see more Tenzin. I want to see more air babies.
Yeah, we're getting more Genora for sure.
I want
So.
more Genora. I want Spirit World now. I want that panda.
Clara wants her panda. She
Panda,
wants it now.
I want my panda, but yeah, I really like it so far. Like I'm getting actually emotionally invested, which I wasn't in the beginning. I was just more like Korra's doing things, and I didn't watch the episodes until like someone was like, hey, you want to watch them together? I'm like, I mean, I guess. Like, I wasn't excited for it, but now I'm like, Varric's evil, things are happening, I must watch this.
I will say they've done a good job with cliffhangers in this season because, like, we had like those ones we mentioned before with the ships invading, Unalaq arresting her parents, and then most recently, Korra gets eaten by a spirit monster. Korra wakes up on an island with no memory. Like, they've done a really good job with that recently.
And Varric.
And the Varric twist, yeah. So I'm really looking forward to see where they go with that. Mark.
I'm generally very happy with this season. I like all the different plots because they're all very interesting. The only thing that I wish they would change is I just want a little bit more friendship and I guess just happiness in this show, because right now it's very drama heavy and I get it, and part of me likes it, but another part of me, what I love about Avatar as a series, both the first series and this new one, is the camaraderie and friendship and just all that stuff, and there hasn't been really any of that. So hopefully that'll change a little bit later in the season.
All right. Peter?
I agree with pretty much everything that has been said. They do need more friendship. My main hope is that they do manage to bring the different threads together soon. I hate it when shows take too long to do whatever it is they need to do, and this just so far done a very good job of just, okay, they're gonna figure it out now. They're gonna she's gonna figure out that he's evil. They're gonna figure out that Varric is evil. So far it's doing a great job, so I fully trust that it will.
All right. And Andrew?
I do agree with everything said so far, and to tack on to everything, I hate that she's had amnesia, because if she needed amnesia to become a better person, like, I feel like that's a very contrived way of just, like, forcing character development on her. I feel like she, like, should have just, like, realized over time, like, as a person, like, take a step back, like, wait, I might be kind of a jerk. But, like, I feel like that, like, but if she's going to become a better person because of it, fine, I guess I'll get over it, because, like, she'll be a better person. The show will be better for that. Like Clara said, I'm somehow on Mako's side on, like, everything now, and I just don't understand how that happened, but I'm
confused
so
and scared, and everything's Mako.
Wait, he's a likable character?
Yeah, I know.
What?
I didn't see that coming.
Character depth?
But, like, he's got character depth now, and I love that he's Nightwing. And
Well, that's interesting because you were on the first podcast we did, and you're like, oh, he's Nightwing now. Oh, that's cool, Mako. Because in the first two episodes, you're like still anti-Mako.
I was, because he was just not very interesting, and now he's interesting, and I'm confused. And then there's Bolin,
I'm
who is
confused
being
too.
snippy.
My
And I like snippy.
emotions.
I like snippy Bolin. I really
I'm
do.
scared
I
he's going to
think he's
become bitter,
fun.
though. I'm so scared.
I don't want him to be bitter, but I like him being snippy.
No joke, I think the moment that Mako apologizes, Bolin will be back to normal.
He will.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He will.
But I'm scared it
and I
won't.
love
Oh, he will.
Varric as a villain. Like, he is, like, my new favorite villain for the whole series. Like, him and Amon are just, like, well, because Amon, like, made a left turn near the end, but Varric is just, like, all built up right now. I'm like, you are a good villain, sir. Yeah. And I want to learn more about you as a villain. I don't care about you, Unalaq. You're not important. Varric.
It's interesting what you brought up there, Andrew. I hadn't thought about that with her amnesia thing. It's just a wait and see thing. How important the amnesia is to her getting better. Like, if she could have gotten better, if she had her memories or not. It'll be interesting to see what they do with that. Because it could be cliche or it could be awesome.
It could work. And it's too early to say. Like, we'll know tomorrow when we.
And do you guys think
the time you listen to this?
when like Mako tells Bolin and Asami, like, hey, Varric's evil, since they're both sort of attached to him right now, do you think they're going to be like, no way, you're crazy?
Exactly like that. Exactly.
Bolin is going to be like, no way, you're crazy. But I can almost guarantee that maybe that'll happen for maybe 1 or 2 episodes. And then eventually Mako will be,
prove
hey,
it.
Bolin, look at this.
But, like,
and then he's going to realize.
What do you think Asami will do with that information?
I think she'll turn around if she has concrete proof.
She'll
which
realize.
He does have at this point.
Like, it's too late for her. Like, she's already, like...
Well, and that's why she's going to be really freaked out, because she's going to be like, oh, no, I just signed over my company. What do I do?
Yeah,
So
she's going to crash and burn hard.
Every time Mako tries to come up with proof or show proof, he's like, hey, guys, look at this proof I have right here, man. Instead of being like, hey, I have some theory. I need you to sit down and listen to me through all of it. Please don't interrupt me. This is what I have. This is my plight. This is the evidence I have. Now please tell me.
Instead
He
of
just
just
goes
yelling
in
at
there and
them.
is like, hey, guys, evidence, throws at them.
Yeah, he's getting a little too
he needs to
energetic.
have one-on-one private conversations where he can be like, these are my feelings, and now you reciprocate your feelings, and I will answer accordingly, and you will answer back, and then we will have conversation.
Well, I think it would be interesting. We're sidetracking here, but whatever. If Mako like goes to like the film set, like to prove to Lin, like, look, the detonators are the key. He's got the same detonators that were used before, blah blah blah. And then like Varric's like somehow swept it under the rug, like, oh, what detonators? I don't know what you're talking about. Smile. I could totally see him doing that.
Because I want Mako to succeed, but like I feel like he's just gonna keep getting shut down. We're gonna get frustrated because he's gonna do something stupid once he gets too frustrated, and I'm scared it's gonna get there.
But this is the best part. You care about Mako now.
Oh no! No!
I like how you didn't realize that until just now.
I know. That's
you
what's
want
interesting.
to succeed.
If you had told like me from the podcast last year that eventually Mako would be one of the more likable characters in the show, I would have been like, what?
If
Really?
we told Clara
Yeah.
that like Mako, like you would have been wanting for Mako to succeed at something, she would have been like, no, you're lying and stupid, and walk away.
It'll never happen. Never.
now it
And
happens.
look what's happened now.
And we're not even halfway through the season.
Yeah. So yeah.
Your Ganondorf laugh, sir, is terrifying.
Is
is.
it a Ganondorf laugh?
It sounds like Ganondorf from Ocarina to me.
I've
little
gotten evil villain. I've gotten Santa. I've gotten stupid.
I could see evil villain.
I haven't seen
Yeah,
Santa.
yeah, I
It
don't-
reminds me, that's the first thing that came to my head was Ganondorf, so.
I see. Well, there you go. Next week, we're going to be doing an episode probably on a movie. We haven't totally decided yet, but I'm thinking The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, which is a Mamoru Hosoda film that's really good. So you can look forward to that for next week. And I want to thank you all for being on this podcast. If you've enjoyed listening, you can email us at techheads@avwproductions.com. You can follow us on Twitter at techheadsou, like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on iTunes, give us good ratings, reviews, read us at techheads.me, AVW Media on YouTube, all that good stuff.
We're everywhere.
Indeed. So thank you all for being with me on this awesome podcast today.
You're welcome.
Of course, it was fun.
Episode 40. We're so
we're so
awesome now.
We are
old.
the almost important one.
Almost important?
Well, I mean, 50 is going to supersede us, like, honestly.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. All right.
The
And
Bobo episode.
we'll see about that. I'll.
How about free?
Man, you're giving me two. Like, this is between a rock and a hard place that you're doing right
Oh,
now.
I see what you did there.
All right. So we'll see you guys next week. Sayonara.
Bye.
This product is copyright AVW Productions 2000.